Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Hit Pause MCU, new podcast from Spawn Trap. I am joined once again by the lovely Jordan,
What's up, guys? How's it going?
and we are going to be talking about we're kind of reversed on our screen, so we don't know where we're pointing. Uh, if you're listening to, actually, I don't think I've set an audio podcast for this yet, and I'm not 100% how we're going to go about that. So far, this podcast is video only. But if you happen to be listening audio only, then make sure to check out the video version on our YouTube channel. It is much better because we have a whole timeline and visual things going on. But as we're recording this, the last episode of What If just posted yesterday, I guess, on Disney Plus. I've seen it. Jordan has not seen it, so we're not going to be talking about the last episode. But we're going to be talking about as many episodes before that as we can fit in the episode today. And if you're not aware, if you haven't watched the previous episodes of this podcast, we are going through a specific format for this. We know the Marvel movies like the back of our hand. And we have some theories on what happens in each timeline that they've introduced into these episodes. So we're going to break down what we know from the movies and how they differ from these episodes and where the episodes continue after that. So basically, what if, then what? That's the question. Are you ready, Jordan?
So ready.
So ready.
It's funny that you say we know these movies like the back of our hand. Yesterday, I literally watched Iron Man, Infinity War, and Winter Soldier all in one day. I was just so out of it.
I watched last week. I actually went to the theater and watched Shang-Chi. So I don't know
Yeah.
if you've seen that yet.
I haven't seen Shang-Chi yet, but me and is it Shang-Chi?
Shang-Chi.
Yes, I want to go to theater. I want to see Shang-Chi, and I want to see Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Those are like my top two next movie theater stops. So
I will be seeing Venom tomorrow, I think. As we're recording this tomorrow. So we're not gonna be talking about Shang-Chi. We're just gonna be talking strictly what if today. Maybe something extra by the end. But where we left off was the Doctor Strange episode. And before we continue on to the next episode, I just want to reiterate that was probably my favorite episode. It was,
Strange one.
yeah, I just thought it was so good.
Yeah.
I thought the writing was good. I thought the concept and everything was good. I thought just the visual stuff also, just him going so dark and twisted, I thought was really cool, and the fight and everything at the end. And it's the first time we've seen the Watcher actually confront these characters.
Yeah, I don't read a lot of comic books, but from what I've heard is Doctor Strange is one of the most powerful characters in the MCU, and until I watched that episode, my girlfriend and I were like, well, that is definitely why. It was really cool to see, the Watcher, he was literally aware of the Watcher, so that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, he gets to the point where he gets so strong enough that he senses the Watcher's presence, and then Watcher, it's as the universe is crumbling down, he sees him. He's like, "Please stop this!" And then Watcher's like, "Well, your world is fucked anyway, so I might as well just talk to you and say how much you screwed up." But he still doesn't intervene, even though I think, revealing your presence to these characters is kind of intervening way. Still kind of messes with the timelines. I don't know how you feel about that.
I agree with you. I wish I watched the newest one, because I think the fourth one that we talked about, the the last one with Ultron, and then the new one. I think it's cool. What I like about What If is it kind of I thought they were all just gonna be random episodes that had nothing to do with each other,
Mm-hmm.
but there is a side story in them all, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah, that's I don't know if we would consider that a spoiler at this point because the trailers have revealed this and kind of getting to the end of this, second to the last episode, you can kind of see where, like everything's gonna converge, right? And I was asking that question too. Like, are the stories to these episodes going to be continued in the next season? Because they kind of all leave on cliffhangers, right? So the question is it going to be addressed in the next season, or is it going to be, tied up at the end of the episode? And I don't want to say either way, like how it happens. Well, I guess you kind of get a good idea watching the Ultron episode, but
Yeah.
but I think I kind of suspected how it was going to end, but I wasn't 100%. So I feel like a lot of these discussions on where we find that each of these timelines would go is probably going to be irrelevant in the end. And I always had that feeling it would be, but I think it's just fun to like consider like what we think would happen in continuation of these stories. And the next story is zombies. So the next episode is all about zombies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What did you think of this episode?
Actually, I liked it a lot. I thought it was really cool that because I didn't know how they were going to introduce zombies, but I liked that it was it Hope that came back and brought a virus back from the quantum realm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that theory.
I thought that was a cool way to introduce this concept, because my thinking was like, how are they going to introduce this naturally into the MCU? And my thought was, in Captain America Civil War, when in like the introduction when they were fighting Crossbones, like the whole mission was like they were trying to steal a some sort of virus or something before the explosion happened, right? So I'm like, oh, maybe they like fucked up and that vial like exploded, and someone got infected and then started the zombie apocalypse. But they went like I feel like they were kind of thrown that it's like this is your obvious way into to this story, but I'm glad they went the quantum realm route because it perfectly tied in with Infinity War, and I think it just made the story much more interesting than if it was set in the time of Civil War. So I think this was a good decision.
What I wasn't expecting was that they could use their powers as zombies, because I was like, how is this going to be any different? I was like, if anything, this is just going to be the Avengers versus like really dumb and slow um, zombies, and it's going to be super easy. So it was really cool to see like people get infected with powers and stuff, and then they start infecting everybody else, and then like the fact that like Iron Man is using his powers but as a zombie and everybody else was too. It was really cool. Like I was like, well, that makes sense why they infect people so
Yeah.
quickly.
This
Is like what we're now is Doctor Strange a zombie at this point? I can't
at
remember. It's been a while.
From what we're watching, yeah, he's a zombie.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
This is taken from the comics. There's a very popular comic called Marvel Zombies, appropriately titled. I would if you're like interested in like the really weird and twisted side of Marvel, like this episode was, and you want to see more of that, it's very much like the comics. I would say the way that the comics differ is that the superhero zombies retain intelligence, or they can at least talk. They kind of still focus on hunger. Like if they get very hungry, they get very dumb, and they're like, we just want to focus on like eating something, right? But they do retain that intelligence, and they don't slow down. Like they're not slow zombies, and they do retain their powers. So having superhero zombies, I think, is just an extra level of fear, because it's like how do you stop that? They're not only are they zombies bad enough, they're just superpowers. So like you can't defeat them.
Right. There's not really any negotiating with them at all.
Yeah. So yeah, I do like this interpretation. And I feel like from what I've heard a lot online, people complaining about this episode, saying like, how are they still using their powers and all that stuff. For me, it wasn't a big deal. I'm like, this is, if they're doing the comics adaptation, like the inspiration from the comics, this is it. Like this, it's true to the comics, and I feel like a lot of people who are commenting on that and having that criticism were aware of the comics, but weren't. I don't think they've read it or understood like this is what the comics were. So I thought it was good.
When I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, they have powers," and I was like, "That's kind of dumb." And then I like thought as I was watching the episode, I was like, "Although it would be pretty boring if it was just another
Yeah.
like zombie thing." And I'm like, before the end of the episode, I was like, "This is great." I only had one problem with Hope, but we'll get to that later.
What is it gonna be? I don't really have much else to say. So this is one of those episodes where it's right at the end of the MCU timeline for when we're talking about phase or not phase. What's the saga one, or what's it called? The first set of phases 1 through 3.
Right? Yeah.
Um
You know what? I think I have two problems with this episode though. One is like I don't like when someone turns into a zombie, how people are like try to like take care of them and they feed them and stuff. And I'm like, how are you psychotic? I'm like, you're normal. I'm like, they're dead. They're not existent anymore. Put them out of their misery. That's the best you could do for them. There's no cure. Their face is rotting off. You're not going to cure them.
well,
So with that,
yeah,
I
no.
don't like what like I don't like that Vision was caring for Wanda, and Vision was a basic or Vision was basically a villain, and he's supposed to be like the best of everybody. Um, and I didn't like that Hope was like, "Let me go really big and save all of you," and then knew she was being bitten,
Mhm.
and then stayed big when she died so that she could come back big. And I know you could argue that she was, um, that she could use her powers and go big anyways, after. But I mean, at least wouldn't you like just go a little first before you die? I mean, I don't know. I guess you could argue it both ways, because if you die, then you fall, then you kill a lot more people. I don't know. I guess it's.
I would make the argument that small wasp is more dangerous than giant wasp.
Yeah,
I would rather have giant wasp, to be honest.
I guess you can see it then, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess when she dies, she falls, and then she can just like kill a bunch of zombies when she falls. I understand that. And my initial reaction though, as like when I was watching it, I was like, "Are you an idiot?" And me and my girlfriend were sitting there like, "Well, she's just an idiot." Like, we were like, we just couldn't believe it. But you're right. When we thought about it more, yeah, we were like, she could probably just use her powers and go big again, anyways, or she could go small if she wanted to. So it's either way. But the Vision bothered me because I'm like, you have the Mind Stone, and you're like this, super intelligent being, and then you gave in to emotions, and you're trying to cure like a rotting Wanda. I
Well,
don't know.
I had the opposite feeling on Vision. I felt like, I don't know, I don't feel like he's a typical robot. He does have emotions. He's developed them. He's becoming his own person. That's just the character of the Vision. And I think it was well written, and I think it was within the character to say, like, obviously he was the villain in the story, but I feel like he doesn't see himself as a villain, and I think that's what makes good villains, actually. But from in his mind, what he was doing was right, and like feeding Wanda T'Challa pieces of T'Challa, not great, but he's like, at least I'm not killing T'Challa. I guess, like, in his mind.
I'd rather you just feed me completely, dude.
But I think he was, I don't know, he felt that love and connection, and his mind or programming, he's like, my number one priority is helping Wanda, because that's what he feels he needs to do, and it doesn't happen until the other characters confront him and saying, hey, this is wrong. Does he realize, oh my god, this is wrong? So I don't know. I felt that was I felt that was a good character arc, but more importantly, that scene of T'Challa being dissected and feed food
Yeah.
for one of the zombie characters, straight out of the comics.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so like when I saw that, I'm like, oh my
Oh,
god,
is
they
it?
did it. Yeah. So in the
I was.
comics, it's Hank Pym. In the comics, he's a much younger character. So he
Yeah.
is the Ant-Man. It's like the main Ant-Man. It's not Scott Lang. Um,
Mhm.
so because he's a smart character. He realizes, I we can't survive off just like not finding food and like thinking clearly, because they can only think clearly once they've ate. Um, so he's like, this in order for us to solve this problem, we need to be thinking clearly, and we can't do that if we run out of food constantly and become like just brainless, mindless zombies. So he's like, I have the blank. He captures the Black Panther, and he just takes a piece of him each time he needs to, think and work and do his work and research. And he hides that from the rest of all the other superhero zombies. So, yeah, to have that scene in this episode, I thought was perfect. I thought it was great, and they changed it in a way that fits the MCU. So I was happy with it.
Easily the best takeaway from that episode, though, was Scott Lang. Though he was fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, what's his? Why can't is escaping me? What's the actor's name?
Paul Rudd.
Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
That was Paul Rudd's voice. It was fantastic. It was just the head of Paul Rudd, which was the greatest thing. That was easily my favorite part of that episode. Was just watching Paul Rudd do his little comedy routine as just a head and all his puns. It was fantastic.
So I don't want to get into how all these stories end up at the end of the episode, and also I don't want to go through what goes on in this story off screen like we have been doing with the other episodes, because this is pretty much the end of the world, right? It's drastically different than what we know from the rest of the MCU, and it ends on it looked like sort of the reverse of what we know of Infinity War. Of rather than Thanos trying to get into Wakanda, they're trying to get themselves out of Wakanda, it looked like, and escape. But he has all the Infinity Stones. He somehow got it from the Time Stone from Doctor Strange. I'm assuming that he came to Earth to see like what the Maw and the other guy, they changed his name so I can't remember. Uh, he they went to him, or he went to them to see like, hey, do you have the Time Stone or whatever? And somehow got it from Doctor Strange, and then somehow also got bitten because there's tons of zombies there, and then got infected by the time he goes to Wakanda.
So Gull Obsidian, isn't it?
Yeah, Call Obsidian. Yeah, the group in the comics is called Call Obsidian. The character's original name is Black Dwarf, but they didn't want to call him Black Dwarf to in the MCU for obvious reasons. So they they named him they named him Call Obsidian. Um, uh,
It's a way cooler name.
yeah. So my question is like, where do you? I don't know. What do you think happens after? Because they kind of ended with, Scott and Peter and T'Challa going to Wakanda to try to, I think, like develop a cure and save the world. But they're going to meet, Thanos' zombie army with an Infinity Gauntlet when they get there, and they're bringing him. Wait, yeah, they're bringing him Vision's Mind Stone, right? essentially.
Honestly, I gotta remember. I don't remember how it ends, isn't it? I thought it cut off before they even got to Wakanda. I
Well,
couldn't
he
remember.
took out his Mind Stone, and
Yeah,
did they grab it? Like they took his Mind Stone, right?
I think they did, but
Okay.
wouldn't Thanos still need the Time Stone from
Thanos has the
uh
Time Stone though. He had four, or no, sorry, he had five. What was it? There's six Infinity Stones, right? He had five Infinity Stones on his gauntlet, I think. He just didn't have Vision's
I don't
Mind
remember
Stone.
Thanos in that episode.
In that episode, it was right at the end.
Oh, was it?
It
I
was
didn't remember
zombie
that.
Thanos with an Infinity Gauntlet, and he
Mm,
had all the stones except for the Mind Stone.
I feel like I gotta
Because
watch
in
this.
Infinity War, because this happens during the time of Infinity War. In Infinity
Yeah.
War, he comes to Earth when he has all the stones, but he got the Time Stone from Doctor Strange when he, went to Titan. But here,
Yeah.
Doctor Strange is on Earth. So
Oh man, I
when he gets to Titan and says, Ma and Call Obsidian are not there. Oh, they must still be on Earth. He goes to Earth to get the Time Stone, gets bitten, then goes to Wakanda for, um, yeah, I don't even know why he would go to Wakanda because he's looking for the Vision when he goes to Wakanda.
um, hmm,
That kind of
because
doesn't make sense.
unless they brought the they brought the Mind Stone with them, would he just know?
Hmm.
I guess because he'd be attracted to the stones, right?
Well,
Because like
yeah,
Vision was saying,
he has all the other stones. He would have only come to Earth for the Time Stone and the Mind
yeah,
Stone. The Time
yeah. The way
Stone,
it ends with them heading to Wakanda, and I think Peter has a stone, and then the last thing we see is
yeah.
a bunch of zombies outside of the Wakanda barrier walls, and then
They're
Thanos.
are they outside of Wakanda or in Wakanda?
They're outside of the barrier, and
Okay.
then
So they're
Thanos is
trying to get
there, and
in.
and then the last thing you see is a zombie Thanos. He pulls up his gauntlet, and he has four of the six Infinity Stones. Wait, let me just double check because I'm
Four
watching
or
his
five?
gauntlet right now.
Does he have the time stone though?
He does have a time stone, yeah. One, two, three. Yeah, he's got five. He's just
So
missing the mind
he
stone.
got he would have been bit when he got to Earth. So he went to, because we see Doctor Strange in New York. Doctor Strange is in New York. He would have came to New York after he got the Soul Stone, because he would have went to Titan to rendezvous with Ma and Call Obsidian. They were not there, so he goes to Earth to see where they are and get the Time Stone. That's when he gets the Time Stone from the zombie Doctor Strange,
Yeah.
and maybe Call Obsidian bites him. I don't know
Right,
why.
we just all
Yeah,
this we had to just guess at that point. So yeah, I honestly I still think a zombie Thanos wins. I don't
yeah.
know.
Well,
You got less Avengers and no Tony Stark to I think your best chance that chance is Shuri. So she better come up with time travel or a zombie cure because
yeah.
otherwise that's all you got left. You don't even have Vision. So
My
you got Spider Man, the Hank of Scott Lang, and there was one other person on that plane and a Mind
T'Challa. Yeah.
Stone. So I don't know. Was T'Challa was on that plane? Did he have like was he miss he's missing limbs though,
Yeah, he's
right?
missing
So
limbs. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he's not really much help. I think
Well,
Zombie Thanos could
if they follow the
handle it.
comics, I imagine they're going to give T'Challa robotic arms, or robotic limbs, and Scott Lang a robotic body.
Yeah, you got time to put that on before Thanos ruins your day.
Thanos is
I
already
think that
there.
yeah, Thanos is already there. He's got
Yeah,
a gauntlet full of stones
yeah.
and a thirst for food, and he's gonna smash that shield down. And I don't know. I love Spider Man, but I don't know if he can handle all that well. Scott Lang and what's his name and T'Challa suit up. I don't. I'm thinking Thanos wins this one.
I I'm still wrapping my mind around like why he's in Wakanda, because he gets the time stone. He needs the mind stone from Vision. Vision's nowhere near Wakanda. And
That's true.
he like during that time he's like, Wanda's after everybody. I need to rip the mind stone out of my
Yeah.
head. Yet somehow Thanos goes to Wakanda. Why does he go to Wakanda? Anyways, regardless of why he goes to Wakanda, he's there. Do you think so? Do you think this episode is going to continue, whether it is in the finale or if it's in season 2?
I mean, if you want to make a 10-second episode where Thanos wins, then I can go ahead and continue it because the other three don't really stand a chance.
So
I mean, you got a
you
whole.
think they're going to get there and he's just going to snap and then just like the whole universe gets eaten and then that's the
Yeah,
end
I
of the
mean,
episode?
you can pretty much pause time with
Yeah.
the stone, and then space portal right behind them, and I don't know, but you got a missing limb T'Challa, a missing body Scott Lang, and then
Yeah.
a scared Spider-Man with a Mind Stone. So unless that Mind Stone can somehow, I don't know, unless you can brainwash some zombies on their team, but I think the Power
But
Stone
they
can
also have all
over.
of Wakanda.
Yeah, that's true. But if the Power Stone can override, I think the Power Stone is more powerful than any other one, so I think it has the power to
I don't know.
override the Mind Stone.
I feel like the
I,
reality stone is the most powerful one.
yeah, I know the Power Stone makes all stones more powerful. So if like you were
Mhm.
to use like it can, I think what I read is that the Power Stone can amplify other abilities. So stuff that the Time Stone like couldn't do or
Mhm.
might not be able to. I think the Power Stone can make it stronger, or
Yeah.
it has the ability to do something like that.
There's
So
a whole graphic like Marvel always goes through like like refreshes or like relaunches, right? There was a point in time more recently where they changed up how the Infinity Stones work. They call them Infinity Gems originally in the comics now, but because of the movies, they changed them to Infinity Stones. So they kind of gave them their own like characteristics and how they work. And there's been like a chart and there's like an infinity graphic showing like how they all work and interact with each other and what they do. So there's like an official Marvel guide to the Infinity Stones now. Um, so yeah, that is out there. I don't know if you're interested in doing that. Um, there is a new like Infinity comic that they made. Kind of like the time the movies. The movies are based off actual like comics. There is one called Infinity, which is pretty good. Which Infinity War and Endgame's kind of based on. Or
yeah,
at least the Children of Thanos, like that side of the
have
stories.
have one. Hang on one second.
Okay. And then they did like a newer version of it, which started off pretty cool. Like it was a cool concept, and I was like really enjoying it. But by the end, they did this weird story where it's like the universe folds onto itself. So rather than snapping half of life out of existence, uh, like everybody kind of fused. So like two people fused into one. And this was just a really weird story. It just kind of went nowhere, and I'm like, where is this going? So I don't recommend reading that comic, but that's basically where the new
Which one was this one called?
I don't know. It's some new Infinity thing where like Gamora becomes the wielder of the gauntlet, and she says like rather than
Oh,
ending half of life in the universe, she fuses half of life in the universe and creates a new reality based on that. But it's just a weird story. But the new like information on the stones and how they work is basically what led up to that comic. So, so yeah, if you're interested in checking that out. But I would say instead of doing that, read Marvel Zombies, the original one. Actually, the story started in Ultimate Fantastic Four, and then I think it's because it was a really cool concept. They spun off into its own story, kind of detailing what happened, up to Ultimate Fantastic Four and all that stuff. So, but I don't think you really need to read the Ultimate Fantastic Four story to do that. But if you find the omnibus or like complete collection for Marvel Zombies, I'd recommend doing that because it's just really fun to read.
yeah.
So next up we have, right. This was the next
Yeah.
episode. What if Killmonger saved Tony Stark? I think that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this one ends in, um, Killmonger taking over Wakanda earlier than what happens in the Black Panther movie.
And like
And
T'Challa wouldn't even be like
Mhm.
T'Challa shouldn't even have his powers yet, really.
Yeah.
Don't think he'd be even whatever, and um,
And this happens like around the first Iron Man movie. So,
yeah, it happens in the first Iron Man movie. So this would
mhm,
happen in 2008, I believe.
yeah. So
So
this is a good one. Yeah, I feel like it's like every other episode. This is a good one to go over, what we know from the movies. So, let's break it down. So, around the time of Iron Man, I might need to like view this myself. It's like a really small screen here. Okay, so around the time of Iron Man, I guess Iron Man 2 happens like right after that, right? Um,
I think Iron Man 2 happens 2 years later because I think he like solved most of the peace on Earth by
yeah.
just using his Iron Man suit in like 2 years, and then everyone's just trying to focus how to recreate his suit.
So Iron Man dies. Tony Stark dies in this episode, and you'll see that is a common theme in What If. It's like he's an absolute point in the multiverse. Tony Stark needs to die apparently. Um, so Iron Man 2 doesn't really happen, but do elements of Iron Man 2 still happen, and how would they happen differently?
I
Um,
don't think Machine would ever take over one of his suits.
he doesn't. He's dead.
War Machine does.
Yeah, in that episode, T'Challa kills him. Or
Oh
not
yeah,
T'Challa. Sorry. Killmonger kills him.
Killmonger, yeah.
Um, yeah. The only other thing is like, Whiplash wouldn't really be like have this vendetta because Tony Stark's dead.
Yeah,
So
I know
like,
Iron Man suit's not even created, so like there's like even in the Avengers, I think
yeah.
we'd lose. I think we don't have to go that far because I think when Loki takes over, Loki just takes over Earth.
Hmm.
We don't really have anyone to stop Earth until like the only thing I could think of is like
That's a good
maybe
point.
If Loki wins Earth, uh,
Well, we're kind of
I think
getting
the only
ahead because
person.
that's in Avengers. So let's stick to Iron Man 2 here. The only
Sure.
thing that I will say is that, well, like Nick Fury's not going to recruit him. He's dead, obviously. The only thing
Right.
is like, who am I going to recruit now? Justin Hammer. But like,
Oh yeah.
Justin Hammer is going to be like, all right, my competition's dead, so Hammer
Yeah.
Industries on top.
Well, like let's skip ahead here. So, or let's go back further though. Before Tony Stark dies, Killmonger saves him before he even goes into the cave.
Hmm.
So, I think what it says is if Killmonger, by saving a man,
Hmm.
Killmonger killed a hero. So Tony Stark never invents like the Iron Man suit. So Iron
Yeah,
Man is not even a thing. He would have no suits whatsoever. So there's no
yeah.
suits. The Iron Man and the mini reactor are not a thing. So there's no even War Machine suits. There's nothing like that. So no
I
suits.
I think maybe you need to reconnect your. You're using your webcam mic, right? You're just like cutting in and out. I'm not too sure how to fix that during the podcast, because it'd be. I think it's a Discord issue, so I'm not too sure. But I don't know if you want to try some troubleshooting. Well, I
Can you can you hear me here now or no?
yeah, you're good. Um,
Okay. All right.
yeah, continuing off what you said, that is very true. Um, the Iron Man suits would not have existed. Obadiah. Well, Obadiah's in jail. He's not part of Stark Industries anymore, so
Right.
he
Yeah.
wouldn't have cut. He wouldn't have became a future villain or whatever. Ten Rings, is the Ten Rings destroyed? Like, did kill not the entire Ten Rings, but like the faction that was in Afghanistan. Did like Killmonger go and like kill everyone? I don't
What
know.
are the Ten Rings? Does that have to do with Chang Chi?
Yeah, but they're the organization in Iron Man, like the first Iron Man. They were the ones that kidnapped Tony Stark. But I
Okay.
think
See, I haven't seen Shang-Chi, so I don't know. I don't know. I guess they never even get to do anything with Obadiah. So like they don't even get to kidnap him. So I don't even know if Obadiah would be in jail. We'd probably just be running Stark
Well, he is though,
Industries
because
because
that's how they open the episode. Is Killmonger testifies in front of an audience saying
you're
like,
right.
yeah.
You're right. He does find all the he
Mhm.
does leak all that. You're right.
So yeah, Iron Man is drastically different. I mean, they showed like the different path of the Iron Man movie in this universe for that episode. That's
Yeah.
basically like, what if the first Iron Man went this way instead? Um, Iron Man 2, everything's different. That movie does not happen. Nick Fury's doing something else. I don't know what Nick Fury's doing. Um, the Hulk. Does anything change in the Hulk?
I don't think so because Hulk's kind of just doing his own thing, and
Mm-hmm.
Shield just kind of keeping tabs on him on their own.
Yeah.
So it would. I guess there would be no Iron Man at the end of the credit scene.
Yeah.
That's it.
They would. Yeah. The canon story for the MCU on that interaction is that the the World Organization, I can't remember what it's called, the one that Shield answers to, want the Abomination to be part of the Avengers initiative, and Nick Fury and Phil Coulson and Sitwell don't want Abomination to be in the Avengers. They're like, no, we need the Hulk.
Yeah.
So they have, but they have orders to ask General Ross, who has the Abomination,
Yeah.
like he's in control, to recruit the Abomination. So they're like, we need General Ross to say no. They're like, who does he hate more than anybody who he'll say no to? And then they ask Tony Stark to ask him to recruit the Abomination, where I guess they get into a fight, and then I guess Tony Stark buys the bar that that he was drinking in. But yeah, so basically that's why Abomination is not part of the Avengers canonically for the MCU. So Tony Stark's not there to convince General Ross to say no.
Yeah.
So does in this timeline, does the Abomination get recruited for the Avengers?
Yeah. I don't know about that. I haven't. The Hulk is probably the one I've watched the least of.
I think that's true for everyone. I've seen the Hulk many times. I do like the movie, but I think that's generally regarded as the most skippable movie of the saga. I will say that will probably change in future movies, in current movies, and in upcoming Disney Plus shows. But
They'll be more skippable.
no, I think it will be required viewing. It kind of is for What If, because there is the episode where the Avengers die did have quite a few scenes, like moments from that movie. So it's already becoming more relevant.
I wouldn't know if it's skippable, but it's probably the one you only need to watch like once. Because General Ross is probably like his biggest scene is probably in Hulk, and he makes many appearances, but he's probably his biggest, like the most like to know more about that character is mostly from the Hulk.
Well, they do get into the, like how governments have been trying to replicate the Captain America serum without saying it's Captain America, because they didn't have that tied in universe yet. But they're basically building off of, the super soldier serum and all this stuff. I think it's a good introduction for the Hulk, but yeah, there's not a whole lot of ties into the MCU with this, other than that end credit scene. So yeah, I think the only thing that would have changed in this universe is possibly the Abomination being recruited into the Avengers. It's the only
Yeah.
thing I can see that's different.
That's true.
What about Thor?
Literally the only I was just thinking about Thor. The only thing that I can pick at that would be different about Thor is when Phil Coulson goes up to what is that weapon they have?
Oh
Is it
yeah, yeah. He thinks
is it
it's Tony Stark's. Yeah.
yeah, like, is that one of Tony Stark's things?
Yep.
But he would never have seen the Iron Man suit, so that one phrase is the only thing that wouldn't have been said.
Yeah.
I think is the only difference. And he would have tried to recruit. What is that thing called? The Destroyer.
The Destroyer.
Yeah, I think Phil Coulson probably would have tried to recruit the Destroyer and Thor. That's about the only thing I can think of. Nobody would have even thought about the Iron Man suit, and so obviously Iron Man 3 wouldn't have happened. Or what's his name? The dude. What's the guy's name?
The Mandarin.
Yeah, the Mandarin. I guess he'd continue to keep making explosions until he either perfected or just kept killing people and made
Well, I think like I'll just
toward augmented people walking around.
I think I'll just Killian's research still continues. We are getting a little bit ahead though. Let's dial it back. Let's think. I want to think critically on because Iron Man 3 might not even happen based on what we think happens in Avengers. So,
Sure.
Is this another timeline where Loki wins?
I think so, unless you can get Hulk and the Abomination somehow to work together. Unless he just recruits the Abomination.
Is Hulk even in the Avengers? Are they even like looking for him?
That's what I'm saying. So unless they recruit both, or they just recruit Abomination, like I don't know. I don't know. Does Abomination destroy Loki or no? But like I don't know.
There's also
that nuke. There's also that nuke that would end up hitting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Iron Man doesn't get rid of that nuke. Does the nuke kill Loki? Does it kill Abomination? Because it wipes out all of Thanos' army when it goes through the portal in the Avengers, and it wipes out Leviathan. Yeah. So would a nuke? Yeah, that's true. Either or. Does it?
But
kill
Loki? It only does that because they hit the mothership or whatever at the top.
Right.
Like that's the only reason.
The only thing that I also didn't like about that is all the ones on Earth die, and I'm like, are they like linked together? Is it like a hive mind thing? Because they're not robots. I just didn't understand why they all died after. Like once the nuke goes through and kills them all the ones that are like on Earth and like living, they all just fall down dead. And I'm like, that's.
So do you think? So Nick Fury, this is all based off who Nick Fury is recruiting, right? So
Right.
and so he still has Hawkeye and Black Widow with him. Thor. Okay, let's wait for Thor. Okay, he maybe has Abomination. Yeah. And he's like, this guy's not listening to me or whatever. Yeah. He just wants to destroy Harlem. I don't get it. And then there's Captain America. Well, yeah. They would still find Captain America. So like the rest of the Avengers are there. Thor. There's. First of all, Thor comes in when Loki is on the helicarrier. That doesn't happen until Iron Man comes in and subdues him in the Avengers movie. Is when Loki comes in.
Yeah.
And also they don't have like the discussions with Tony Stark before. Well, no, he comes in at that point in the movie. So yeah, is Captain America still fighting Loki at this point because Iron Man's not around to?
I think at whatever point it matters, I think Odin still creates the conjures dark energy to send Thor there, so it doesn't really matter what point they get to Loki.
But they also calm Thor down after fighting him.
Right, but only Iron Man went after him, and then Cap decided to step in and go after him, and they might not be on that ship. So if you're saying like Loki and Cap are fighting.
So in this timeline, Captain America is like wherever they are, Thor comes down. Captain America is like, let me talk to him, and he comes in and says, like, hey, let us, let's talk about this or whatever.
Yeah.
Or do you think Thor, because he's not interrupted by Iron Man, he talks to Loki and somehow gets him to go back to Asgard?
I don't know. I think Loki is still scared of Thanos, and he's saying what he's seen worlds that you could only dream of and stuff. So he still has the Mind Stone from. Does he have the Mind Stone at that point?
He does have the Mind Stone.
Yeah, he does. And then Cap. I don't know, unless. Oh, what if like he ends up hitting Thanos with the Mind Stone though, or hits not Thanos, sorry. If he hits Thor with the Mind Stone, and then Loki has Thor though too, because
What?
they only he gives in
Mhm.
so that they take him, and then they take away his stone. But if it's just Cap, and he doesn't do this whole plan to be taken and destroy the Avengers, there might not even really be any Avengers. There's like Cap, a couple of agents, and maybe no Hulk, maybe no what's his name?
Thor?
The other monster. No, the other
Oh,
monster.
Abomination?
Abomination. So I don't think Loki's scared by just humans. Like like if it's just Hawkeye and Captain America, whatever. So
So that is a
unless
great
he,
question. Yeah.
so if he has a Mind Stone and then he uses it against Thor, then he has Thor on his team too. And I think either way without Iron Man, I think he wins Earth, unless
Hmm.
Thor and Cap and that can stop him. But
Now here's the thing. What if Nick Fury? We're asking a lot of what if questions in this theoretical continuation of this what if story. So
yeah,
there's definitely multiple ways this can branch out from just the Avengers movie, just the absence of Iron Man,
yeah.
and maybe the Hulk. Um, uh, so that's a great question. Yeah, what if he uses the Mind Stone on Thor or even Captain America? Because
Yeah,
Iron Man
because
doesn't
without
swoop
Iron,
in.
yeah,
But my other question is, what if Nick Fury is recruiting other candidates because Iron Man's not around, or Iron Man never existed?
who else do we have at that time? I know we have Captain Marvel, but she might be left like far away.
But
So unless he,
what if he's desperate because he doesn't have the right team,
and then he
the
might get
team he
Captain America.
wants?
I think whether he does it sooner or he waits, New York gets nuked, and then the rest of the world starts getting taken over by Thanos' army, then maybe he calls in Captain Marvel, and then maybe Captain Marvel has to come in and save it all. But then that's just a giant mess, though. Anyways, and at that point, when Thanos shows up, he'll just get the Mind Stone and Space Stone from Loki.
So let's imagine our what we think our scenario of this Avengers movie happens. How does this movie go down? So we're at the point where Captain America confronts Loki in Germany. I think it was
Right.
Germany, right?
Sounds familiar. Yeah, I
Or
think so.
France or something. So what happens after that? What do we think? Do we
I
think do we
I don't
think
think
Thor comes in at that point?
I think if he does, either Loki. I don't know. It depends what Loki's plan is. If he wants to hijack both their minds, or if he still lets himself get caught and put on the helicarrier. But his whole plan was to release the Hulk.
Yeah, and what if the Hulk is not? So is the Hulk in this movie or is it Abomination?
I don't know. But then is his plan to release the Abomination then? Because if it's the Abomination, then it's I guess similar. But if he doesn't care about Abomination,
Yeah,
because he knows somehow he knows about all his characters, which I don't know how he knows all that. But if
because
he
he's a
doesn't care about
trickster.
Yeah, so if he doesn't care about Abomination or if they don't recruit the Hulk, then his plan might just be like, I'm going to use my brother, I'm going to get Cap, and then all you got is some people who barely care to save the world left. Like, Bruce Banner is probably just going to be in hide. Unless they recruit Bruce Banner, he's probably just going to be his nerdy doctor self, um, helping people in medical needs. I don't think he comes to the aid. I don't know. I don't see him being the hero until they like Shield forced him to. So
Do you think Nick Fury would still? So he's not recruiting Hulk to be on the team because they want the Abomination on the team, maybe. in my mind, it's more fun to go with the Abomination in this alternate timeline.
Yeah,
So I feel like we should have the Abomination on the Avengers in this
sure.
timeline. Um, but because they're dealing with gamma radiation, he still has Eric Selvig there. Eric Selvig gets mind controlled by Loki.
Right.
Um, do you think because they're still looking for an expert on gamma radiation that they have the Abomination on the team, but they're still trying to reach out to Bruce Banner to get his input on finding the Tesseract because he knows how to look for it because he's a gamma radiation expert.
That's true. There is that potential, yeah. And he has to make. He's just have to have them play nice with, Abomination on the same thing with him, because Abomination can't turn back, right? He's just stuck like that.
As far as we know.
Yeah. Because I don't know about that, and I haven't seen Shang-Chi, so I don't know if he. I don't know if you see more about him in that. I saw that he's in it. I just don't know if there's anything more about him in it. They showed it in the trailer. He's in the trailer, so that's not really much of a spoiler. I haven't seen it, so I don't know if he can change it back or not. But
So, I'm not answering that question. Uh, yeah. So,
that, hang on, just so I know,
mhm.
there's nothing else cool about. I mean, I don't know. The Abomination's kind of a cool character, but he doesn't have any. He's not like a. He's not a scientist. He's just a military guy. So he obviously doesn't have all the PhDs and sciencey facts like Bruce Banner. He's just a military like Marine, right?
I will answer that question by saying no. He is not cool. So, yeah, I think there's multiple ways this timeline can go, and we're
Yeah,
having a lot of fun in different like situations. But I think what we're realizing is that this splits off in so many different ways in the Avengers movie that there's so many other what if timelines that can happen because of this. Because Killmonger saves Tony Stark. We're not even getting to the point of Black Panther in this thing because we have so many different ways that the Avengers can change. Uh,
yeah, but
I, I
yeah,
I was trying
that
to
way.
create a movie like a scenario for us for the Avengers, like an alternate Avengers movie, so we know how to continue from the rest of the movies going forward. But
Right.
I don't think we can really settle on something.
I think either Loki wins and Thanos comes in, or they have to end up getting Captain Marvel in, and then Captain Marvel has to end up fighting like Loki's army, potentially Thanos, and then also maybe Thor if he gets mind controlled. But that is that could keep going. But back, or you want to get back to like the Killmonger part then, like with what happens with Killmonger when he starts taking control of stuff.
Yeah, we can go into like where we think the episode would continue on the Killmonger and Wakanda side. I think it's kind of yeah because that would happen before the Avengers movie because it happened so much earlier.
Yeah, like
Um,
that's like 4 years earlier.
yeah. Um, I don't because I've seen the finale. I won't get into my thoughts on that. So, what do you think
You seen the finale on what?
on What If?
Oh, okay. My thoughts on that would be, either from what I remember from it, either Killmonger takes over if he kills. Is it T'Chaka? I don't remember if he wants to fight T'Chaka in it, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't he challenge him? So if he wins and he fights T'Chaka and he is born there and he's by blood, he would have to become king, I believe. Um, if I don't know if he releases it and everybody becomes he does the same plan where he releases his weapons all over the planet. I don't know. I think he becomes like the king, but then also there's vibranium everywhere. So then with vibranium all over the world and vibranium weapons, maybe we stand a better chance against later down the line Loki's army and
Hmm.
stuff or whatever. But the
Yeah.
world would be definitely more militarized. So there's my two options for that, just to make it simpler, was either Killmonger wins, or if T'Chaka wins, then Killmonger's gone, and then we don't have to worry too much because I don't think T'Chaka would then like still release all the robots and stuff. But it was, if you haven't seen this episode, it is a really crazy plan that Killmonger has, and he is a very likable character in this one, but he is still a villain. So
Only because he likes anime.
yeah, yeah, it's true.
Let's go on to the next episode. Because we have some time. Let's this is Party Thor. What did you think about Party Thor?
Party Thor. I don't really think we have to spend as much time on Party Thor because it honestly, to be honest, it's not like a very like
I have a lot of thoughts on this episode.
oh, do you? I honestly just enjoyed it as a fun episode. Like, I think it was just very lighthearted and fun and silly, and it wasn't really action packed. There wasn't like a huge war going on. It was just a simple fight between Thor and Captain Marvel. It was
Yeah,
pretty.
that was.
So that was nice to see them
Yeah.
fight, though. It was kind of cool, though. But for the most part, it's just a fun episode.
Yeah, I agree. I so a lot of this episode, like how I feel about this episode, can be traced back to our first podcast episode, where it was me and Matt talking. So I'm not too sure if you listened to that episode. But it was the second episode of the show. What if T'Challa became Star-Lord? Where a lot of it was a very fun episode. It had a lot of humor and great moments, and they had a lot of like backseat characters getting a more prominent role that I feel like they deserve. And a lot of great voice acting and all that stuff. So I did love that episode for a lot of reasons. I also hated that episode. Like, it was I said at the time, it was the first MCU thing I did not fully enjoy. Because like overall, I've loved everything that came from MCU proper, from Marvel Studios. The reason why that episode felt off for me is because the show is presented as an important show to the Marvel Cinematic Universe as you know it. Everything, like, this is as important as the TV shows and the movies and everything, and it builds off of what you know from the existing the Marvel Cinematic Universe. There was so much change in that episode, down to character motivations and their there's a spider like right in front of my face. But there but it seemed like it was just it differentiated so much from the path of what we know that it did not seem believable to me for that story. And I usually love that kind of stuff where it's presented as sort of like a parody or an exaggeration of these quirks and characteristics of these characters that you know. For example, before we started the podcast, you were talking about MODOK, and the MODOK show is very much like that, which is the kind of humor making fun of the stuff that I really enjoy, like a little fun side thing. So if this wasn't tied to the MCU and it was like, what if these characters were differently, but it's not actually the MCU, then I would absolutely love that stuff. But it rubs me the wrong way, which I know is not, don't take me too seriously when I say this. Like, I I understand how you don't agree with me, and that's fine. I know I'm the odd one out here. But rewatching that second episode has changed my mind on it. This, I had similar feelings where it's like, this is too outrageous. But I think they went so far with it, and there was a lot of good funny moments that it just, I'm like, all right, this is just like, what if just everything is just ridiculous? And then I don't know, I just ended up enjoying it more. So I think there's like a barometer of like how absurd you can make the universe to like it reaches past that level where it's like, okay, now I'm okay with it.
Yeah, see, a couple coworkers, they didn't enjoy the second episode with T'Challa as Star-Lord
Hmm.
because they thought him convincing Thanos out of his huge scheme,
Yep.
they thought was ridiculous because I don't know. In my opinion, I feel like because it was like I don't know if it was. I guess it wasn't really released before T'Challa died, or Chadwick Boseman died, but like I know he did the voice in it.
Hmm.
To me, I thought it was like because Chadwick Boseman passed away, I felt like it was a funny episode poking fun at Chris Pratt in like a harmless way. It was just like Chadwick Boseman is such a better Star Lord
Yeah.
than you are, and I feel
Yeah.
like because that's kind of a humor that Chris Pratt would have. So I feel like it was them just showing that Chadwick Boseman is a better Star Lord than you, and it was like a little fun at Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
And then Chadwick Boseman passed away, so they're just showing you how pure he was, and then he could convince even Thanos to be a better guy.
Well,
So I thought like
all
it was a little like I enjoyed it, but my
Mhm.
coworkers thought it was too far out there and too silly and ridiculous.
I agree. I agreed 100% with them. That was
Yeah.
my point where I'm like, all right, well, come on. Like,
Yeah.
I just couldn't take it. But, yeah, all this was done before Chadwick Boseman passed away. So, the only thing is like the editing and all that stuff that happened after he was gone. And I guess the animation as well, but the story and voice acting and all that stuff was obviously done before he passed away. So
Right.
it is always the intention to do that. So I can't like separate myself from that in a way from that thought.
Right.
In terms of the story and like and everything. But I don't there was I don't know. There's a lot of funny moments in this episode in particular where I was like it's kind of fun to watch.
Right. Like I thought it was cool because we got to see Thor versus Captain Marvel because
Yeah.
everyone says like they're kind of like the two most powerful that we know of in just our
Mhm.
Avenger group. So it was kind of fun watching them fight and duke it out, and it was kind of funny to see Thor how he kind of was in the beginning of Thor 1 with the same attitude.
Mhm.
I kind of like that, and I liked seeing Jotunheim and Asgardians
Frost
as
Giants.
like yeah, Frost Giants and
Mhm.
Asgardians as kind of friends. However, wasn't Loki supposed to be a sort of like a dwarf or like an outcast baby? And he was kind of like a dwarf of them. So it was weird that he was still really tall when he was
I,
supposed to be like smaller than most frost
yeah,
giants.
I don't know what the whole deal with that is. Like what it's
Because that's
supposed to be.
yeah, because that's what I remember. It was that they kind of cast him out, and then Odin found him and was like, "Well, I'll raise him as my own, and then
Mhm.
later we'll use him as like, look, we raised a frost giant as our own, and he's, we'll bring these tribes together or whatever, races together."
Yeah.
But I was like, then I see him and I'm like, so you gave him back, and the frost giant dad was like, "Oh, thanks for giving me back my baby that I outcast. He was no
Yeah.
longer a dwarf and tall and normal."
It's kind of
And I
like
was like, I didn't really understand that part.
it's kind of like like if we were going by like I'm like maybe he has to grow up in Jotunheim in order to become a proper frost giant. But like then my mind goes to Superman. Like if that was the same logic, like Superman did not grow up on Krypton. he got sent to Earth. Like if that was the logic, he would not have all these like powers and everything because it's
But
based.
that's different for Superman though, because Superman gets his powers from our sun
Yeah, but
because our
he's also the Earth has a different atmosphere and everything. So like when other Kryptonians, because other Kryptonians are just regular people on Krypton. When they go to
right,
now, keep in mind I'm very like I'm a DC noob, okay? So like you could correct me in the comments, but from what I understand, Kryptons are like super powered and like have all these abilities because they're Kryptonians, because they have a different like DNA and everything, off of a different planet's atmosphere. When they go to Earth, it's a completely different world. So they're lighter. They can fly, which is basically them jumping, from what I understand. So it's like they're flying because they can jump farther because it's a different gravity and all this stuff. So like the laser eyes and all that stuff they would still have, but I think like their strength and their flying
I
and
don't
all
think
that
they
stuff
have
is.
laser eyes, do they, on Krypton? Okay, so
I imagine they would. Why would it be any different on Earth than it is
because
Krypton based on all
I
that?
I don't really I don't like Superman. I don't really care for Superman.
But
However, the Superman movie that I did like was the one where that went what's his name? Who was the last Superman guy?
Henry Cavill,
Henry Cavill. The one where he's Superman and his dad is
Jor-El,
Russell
Russell
Crowe.
Crowe. Yeah, Russell Crowe.
You
Yeah.
say Wreck-It Ralph?
No, I said Jor-El. I think his name
Okay.
is Jor-El. I don't know.
I said Wreck-It Ralph. I was
Wreck-It
like,
Ralph. His father is Wreck-It Ralph. I can
yeah.
fix it. I can fix Krypton.
So I was like, are you trying to say the guy who plays Wreck-It Ralph? I was like, because
No, that
that's the
was
guy.
wasn't it like John C. Riley or something?
Yeah, it's John C. Reilly. Yeah. So I was like,
who
John
was
C. Reilly.
who was in the Nova Corps in the MCU?
Yeah. So the way because in that one they're still durable, they're still stronger than humans on their planet. They're still super strong, whatever. But they use guns and stuff because they still have guns to kill each other because they're all basically equals up there.
Mhm.
I think when he comes to Earth, he gets all these powers. Like I think he gets X-ray vision, laser eyes, frost breath,
He gets
supersonic
that from the
speed
Earth's sun.
from the Earth's sun. Because I remember when he says when he gets there, he's like, "You're going to be stronger than all these." He's like, "You're gonna be stronger than all of them," and whatever. And they're like, "He's gonna be a freak." Or his mom's like, "He's gonna be a freak," and he's like, "Yeah, well." His dad's like, "They're not gonna be able to do anything about him because," or
So,
she's like, "They're gonna kill him because he's gonna be a freak," and then his dad's like, "They're not
yeah.
gonna be able because our son is like." I don't know what they said, like a million years younger than theirs or something like that. So,
Yeah,
like,
Superman just
he gets it all from our son, I'm pretty sure. I don't think that any of them had laser eyes
that's
or frost breath.
that's ridiculous. That Superman makes
Why
absolutely
don't
no
he
sense
has,
to me.
he has two weaknesses. It's
Yeah.
magic, kryptonite. It's
It's
bullshit.
magic in a rock. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Superman makes absolutely no sense. He puts on the glasses and then suddenly somebody else. How does it fucking make any sense?
That's why I
So.
didn't like. That's why I didn't like Captain Marvel right away because I was like she was too powerful. And then when Thanos beats her in the face with the Power Stone, I was like, that's what that feels like. I was so stoked that she got
That she got
destroyed.
punched in the face.
Yeah,
Jordan
I was.
wants to see more women in the MCU get punched in the face. You heard it right here.
Yeah, keep them in their place.
Okay, we went way too far off from this
Sorry,
episode.
I didn't mean it.
I don't know what the answer is for Loki becoming a frost giant and all this stuff. I will say, in no way am I saying because I enjoyed this episode and the comedy and everything, that I think this episode makes any sort of sense. This episode was nonsense. Did not fit any of the rules or what we know for the MCU. Characters are showing up that's like, why the fuck are they there? There's Nebula was there gambling. Like this.
There were a lot of characters that shouldn't have been there, but I did like that the Sakaar people were there because they're all about parties. So that was
Yeah.
fantastic when they showed up. I was like, yeah, they should be there. Sakaar, I was like, all they want is parties. And if Thor Odin's son is gonna throw a party on a, what they consider a shit planet, which is
Yeah.
Terra, so just like, yeah, let's do it. So I thought
The thing is, like, maybe like Thor, because he didn't grow up with Loki, like after all these years he made friends with all these different alien races and then they came to Earth. I guess it's such a so far out there story that it's just like, all right, let's just forget about all the rules and what we know in the MCU. This is just a dumb fun side thing that you just have to forget about. But
so there's not really like a lot of branches on it. I do like that.
no.
To add really quickly, I do like that Loki didn't grow up in Thor's shadow, and he's gonna be the ruler of Jotunheim, so he's not looking for other places to rule. So he's like, yeah, let's fucking party and have everybody love me. So
Yeah.
I liked Tom Hiddleston's new version of Loki in this.
Yeah, and this is definitely not a universe where we have to worry about where it's going to branch off from here. I mean, it does happen in I think this happens in the same timeline as the Thor movie, right? Like I think around the same time. But yeah, because the Odin goes to sleep. He goes to Odin sleep. So this would have happened the same time as the Thor movie. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because then she was still the girl there that likes
Jane,
him was
yeah.
still investigating. She was still investigating the weird signs of life, or whatever.
Yeah, this episode is just all over the place. We cannot analyze the timeline for this episode. It's
just silly fun, and there's no, there's, I don't know. It's just a good time, honestly. It's just like, if you might not like it, you might not enjoy it, whatever, but just I don't know. I kind of just pretend it's in its own universe, and Thor and Loki are just they're basically just like surfer bros that just want to throw a huge party. So just enjoy it.
This is like one of those kind of like MODOK parody episodes. Like you just have to like a Robot Chicken kind of thing. So it's like you just have to just enjoy it and for what it is. It's a good little break, from like all
exactly what I said. Lighthearted fun.
Yeah, it's like because like a lot of the episodes just started getting more depressing and serious. So this was just like a nice break in between that until the finale, right? But the next episode is kind of more like that, right? So the next episode is the Ultron episode. So this is what if.
Say about that episode, I don't condone violence against women or Brie Larson. I would just like to say that.
So yeah, I always forget that I need to clarify because I feel like I have that the kind of sarcastic humor as well, where I make fun of the like how ridiculous things are that people say, where I just like repeat them to like make fun of them in a sarcastic tone, but it doesn't always. Like not a lot of people realize that type of humor and how it's like we're obviously not. We're not obviously not serious about that. So, but so this is, I feel like the biggest episode that we've seen so far. Which is it's such a really cool concept because I feel like Ultron in the comics is this ever present, like threat for the Avengers and everyone, where just at any moment, because he's because he's an AI and he thinks 10 steps ahead of everyone. You kill him, is he really dead? He's gonna come back up in the future, right? So this is turning Ultron into like how powerful and threatening he is from the comics.
This would have been Tony Stark's shield around their planet. Is what he wanted, right?
Yeah.
This basically would have been his what was it? A shield around all mankind or something, or whatever.
Yeah, an armor around the world.
Yeah,
or a life for all man. So you're twisting up two quotes. He wants to put a suit of armor around the world. Loki says his tower was a warm light for all mankind to see.
Right. This would have been his suit of armor around the world. Would have been Vision.
Yeah, but Ultron wanted, so he knew about Helen Cho's work in like synthetic body parts or whatever, like creating synthetic body parts, and he knows about vibranium, like the ultimate strongest metal in the world. So he's like, how am I going to become my ultimate self? And it's kind of fusing these two to create the Vision, right? And Helen Cho knows how to do that. Something happened in this timeline, and they didn't really explain what happened. They didn't really need to. But it could have been like Wanda didn't do her little hex on Helen Cho, so she didn't interrupt the process, or something happened, or maybe he continued it on the train during the fight with the Avengers, who knows. But essentially, he gets into the Vision's body, what his original plan was. Now, I feel like his motivations maybe kind of deviated from what we know from the Age of Ultron movie, where I feel like his purpose, from what he explained in the movie, was to create a cataclysmic event, an apocalypse on the world, where humankind has a chance to evolve and start again, and like bring about proper peace. In this timeline, he's like, no, fuck it, kill everyone. So, but I feel like that's more in line. Like there's just no logic for him. He sees that humanity is flawed, and I guess in this universe, all life is flawed, and there can be no peace unless everything is dead and not living.
Because everyone's different, and there's other races, so there will always be conflict, which means no peace.
Yeah.
And then he goes and wipes out everybody.
Yeah, because like when he goes through it, and he's destroying all these planets and everything, and one of the things is ego. Like he finds ego and kills ego. Now ego, first of all, ego is a celestial. Okay. Second of all, it's just a planet. What's he doing? There's no like oh, there's so much evil and conflict that he's I get that he wants to like take over the universe and have everyone become like one, like him. Like he wants to absorb all the universe. Does Ultron know that, or does he see a planet and say this planet is alive, but there's nothing else going on here?
You did say he thinks 10 steps ahead of everyone else. So if he thinks ahead of ego, then and then ego has been laying seeds all over the damn universe for however fucking long. So then Vision can see it all, especially with all the. I'm assuming with like the Mind Stone and everything in there, he can read people's minds and stuff too. So I think he could just kind of start seeing everything, and then he's like, "Oh, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad." Yeah. Now, I have something that I'm calling horseshit on. Why? I know the Mind Stone can shoot that beam. Can all the gems shoot this beam, or just the Mind Stone gets this beam? No, I didn't like that.
I have no idea.
Why does the Mind Stone get extra powers? But the Power Stone should be more powerful than the Mind Stone, right? And then, okay, this is probably one of the most annoying things. Vision shoots the beam at the elf in Infinity War, and he blocks it with a stick, and he like ricochets it, and it like ruins some buildings and some cars. And then he shoots it at Thanos, who has 5 Infinity Stones, and he cuts him in half. And I thought that was bullshit.
So maybe there's different levels to the beam and its intensity, Like Vision's like Vision's not out there to kill everybody. He's out there to, be the hero. Heroes don't kill, except most of the Avengers do. But I
just can't believe Thanos went against a guy with a Infinity Stone and just left his gauntlet at his side. I'm like, when you come out with like your fucking like guns drawn and like block that shit with the Power Stone.
I think he caught him off guard. I think it's just like, let me just
go quick. He just cut him in half.
Yeah, Ultron's just like, okay, let me turn the Mind Stone up to 100 and just quickly, and then
I guess.
I think that's it. That's all it is.
He cuts it in half and he's like perfectly balanced.
I like how we have two different levels of like two different reasons for like, all right, this is where I draw the line in this episode. And it's like two different things that can be like, well, here's the simple explanation in my mind canon. But
I didn't like it how the elf guy had the stick, and I'm assuming it was a very powerful stick. Listen,
his name is Corvus Glaive. Respect him, okay?
Corvus Glaive.
And it's an unbreakable stick, okay? Respect the stick.
By Eitri the Dwarf, not Dimitri. Eitri the Dwarf. I hope it was forged by him because he blocked the freaking Mind Stone. I don't know. That was wild to me. I don't know. And then like you think you have all the Infinity Stones, at least till you get the last one. Maybe go in with the Reality Stone and pretend there's a second one of you and let that guy get attacked first, and then you can. I don't know. I just thought Thanos was very underprepared in that instance. So.
Well, this is one of those episodes again where we don't have to delve into where the timeline's going because this timeline is fucked. And it looks like possibly all the timelines are fucked. So I don't know. So rather than doing that, we'll just go into like just our thoughts on this episode or what we've noticed or anything. This scene in particular, they're in a universe where I don't know if you caught it, but Steve Rogers becomes president. He's being sworn in as president.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah.
Which is actually something from the comics, from the Ultimate Comics. Steve Rogers does become president of the U.S. So I thought that
So
was
Watchers,
nice.
I know they watch everything. Do they actually? I like the way they did that. They're kind of like behind like a different realm of glass, sort of, and they can just watch different realities all at once. Now, why is he the only Watcher? Isn't there multiple Watchers?
Yeah,
So do different Watchers watch different multiverses, and this is just one multiverse that he's watching like multiple ones?
that is a good question.
Because I'm wondering if there's gonna be more. Now, I haven't watched the last episode yet, so we'll have to
Mhm.
do one last what if um podcast,
Oh yeah.
and we'll have to do we'll do a finale one.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, where do you think this show is gonna go, or where do you think the next episode is gonna go? Because clearly, so this episode was all about Ultron, and the previous episode before that shows Ultron's army in that timeline. So obviously, there's like stories gonna be colliding here, um, and it ends with him talking to Doctor Strange from another timeline. So um, so I don't know. Where do you think this? What do you think's gonna happen next?
I don't know. I don't know if I assume Vision's not gonna win, but I did read somewhere once where someone said that Ultron becomes one of the most powerful characters, and I heard about that before I even watched the movie Ultron or Age of Ultron,
Mm-hmm.
and so I thought it was really cool, and I saw the potential of him becoming powerful, but I didn't even know to like this extent. Like this is just I think this is almost too powerful for a robot, so I see some BS in it, but I mean I don't know. I guess he's half, half organic, half vibranium, and I don't know. I guess I could see how he's so powerful, and he's got like all the knowledge from the internet. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
he's smarter than that too. Um, I don't know. I just don't know if he's more power. I guess from this episode you do see that he's pretty much more powerful or on par with the Watcher, and the Watcher can't kill him himself and stop him. So I just have to, I guess I'm gonna have to see. I'm gonna have to wait and see what happens with Doctor Strange and him. I'm assuming they can beat him, but I feel like I haven't watched it yet, so I feel like they might need to recruit one more person. I don't know what's in store. Now is he's like a Vision's body in like a vibranium suit with all the Infinity Stones? Is that basically what he's like right now?
Yeah, I mean, Vision's body is also made of vibranium.
Right.
So he's got Vision's body, as his like ultimate form. Like that's his body.
Hmm.
Like the most unbeatable body. And he also on top of that has Ultron style, like OG Ultron style armor around it. So that's his like suit of armor, to better protect him. Um, so yeah, it's just like it's just his body in a suit of armor.
Yeah. So I now at this point he's the most powerful person in the entire universe, and then he goes into other universes and lays waste to other universes, which is why the Watcher asks for um like help or whatever. Now, how come he doesn't know that Natasha and Clint are doing this thing? Because their thing seems useless. Like that felt like a whole side story that the dude from the Winter Soldier, what's his name again?
Ar-
Computer guy.
Arnim Zola.
Yeah, Hokum, like he was like, I can't even reach him because he's out of range. So like, I don't know if that's going to continue in the next episode, but it seems like just they tried their best, but they couldn't even reach. I think it was like like from what my understanding without seeing the next episode was that it was just showing me that he's like untouchable in that universe now at this point.
No, so the reason why they couldn't reach him is because he was not in the observable universe. He was no longer in that universe. He was
Right, that's what
outside
I'm
of
saying.
it in multiverse.
So like they're like, we can't even reach him. Like we're like, it was like showing us how unstoppable Ultron was. Like they tried their best to
Mhm.
stop him, and maybe
Well,
Zolan could have,
who knows?
but
Like
they
they might have been that their plan might have worked if he was still in that universe, but we
right.
don't
That's why,
know.
yeah. So until I watch the next one, if it continues, then I get it. But this one, I think from what I see, is they're not even gonna be able to. Now there's a scene coming up here that you have playing where somebody eats like a planet. Is that the Watcher doing that, and he tries to eat him, or is that Galactus that I see for a quick second?
It is neither. It is a very Galactus-like image of Ultron biting down on a galaxy. I, I don't know. It was a cool image. I really don't get what the purpose
Really?
was, but a lot of
I only
people are
watched.
like, "Oh my God, it's Galact. He turned into Galactus." I'm like, "Well, it's obviously not that." But I
Right.
had the same thought watching it. I'm like, "That looks like Galactus." But it's not. It's obviously not. He's obviously not Galactus. Marvel is not gonna introduce Galactus as Ultron in the animated spin-off show of the
Right, right.
MCU.
I didn't think either of them turned into it. I just
Yeah.
when I saw it really quickly, I didn't know if I was watching like right there. I didn't
Mhm.
know if, oh, okay, oh, it's Vision eating a galaxy.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Because I saw it so quickly, I was like, was that like Galactus eating a galaxy? And then I don't know if I was supposed to just, I don't know if I missed something. And I was like, did Ultron just like kill him really quickly too, or destroy the universe before he ate it? I was like, I don't know what I just watched, but
Yeah.
I was like,
I wasn't
so
too
that was
sure
just,
either.
I think that was just for us to see that he just murdered a galaxy, right?
I think so.
It was just
Maybe.
like a quick montage or something.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I know he's definitely super powerful, though. I mean, you can see it just by him destroying Ego and cutting
Mhm.
Thanos in half, though. And he has 6 Infinity Stones, is aware of Watchers, and then breaks through the universe, and he gets, kind of behind the scenes and sees other multiverses opened up. So
Yeah.
I hope that didn't really. If you haven't watched it yet, there's a spoiler alert.
Well, this is a spoiler podcast, so we
It's just
should be opening the podcast every week saying, this is a spoiler podcast. Make sure that you watch the show before you listen to the podcast, and use this as an additional, after show, additional content. Because you're craving more. We get it. We're the same way. I look up the new Rockstar's videos and everything too. I'm just like you. But yeah, after this, I mean, we got one more episode left, and then I think the next thing that's happening is the Eternals movie. If we're not counting Venom, Let There Be Carnage, we'll see. This is an MCU podcast, so who knows if we're going to talk about that. Matt was, I think I'm going to try to do a like schedule a podcast for us on the weekend, so that way we can do the finale and have all of us be on.
I mean, we could
Um,
talk. We could do a DC podcast. We could talk about how terrible they are, or how surprisingly good they might turn out.
so
That's usually
our plan was my original plan was to do a live stream reaction on. So we have most of the YouTube channel here is gaming content, and there's a big DC event, DC Comics event, where it's their biggest like announcement. Like it's their E3 stage for their stuff, right? So they're gonna announce comic book stuff, animation, movies, TV, and also video games. So that was my suggestion, saying, "Hey, there's gonna be video game content here. Why don't we do a live reaction to it?" And uh, me and one of our like guest hosts that we sometimes have on said we wanted to do it, and it's held on a Saturday, which is usually good for me. Like anything that runs on Saturday, I'm usually good to go. Unfortunately, something came up and it's not available. When I brought that up in our Discord chat, I said it doesn't look like we're doing DC fandom. So we're not going to be live stream reacting to DC fandom. So I will say that. But when I brought that up to Matt as like I can't do DC fandom, he's like, don't worry. I have a leaked source showing what's planned to happen during DC fandom, and it's just a picture of a bunch of overflowing bins of garbage.
That's so funny. Yeah, I love DC. I love it a lot. Their movies usually aren't the greatest, but there are a lot of home runs, and I really hope Venom Let There Be Carnage is. All I've heard was good things,
Well, that's not
so I
DC.
will. That's true. That's Marvel. What am I thinking? That's true. So we got. Yes, that's true. I totally
I
forgot.
know it's hard to differentiate the two because of the
No,
quality,
actually,
but
actually, I thought it was DC for like a split second because I was like, oh yeah, because it's more dark or whatever. But no, I was like, no, Venom is Spider-Man universe. So.
Was Venom more dark
I was hoping it was gonna be more dark than it was. Like he eats people, but I really wanted it to
in a
be like
very
actually.
PG-13 way? He
Yeah,
eats people.
that's why I wanted to be like, wait. I was hoping like Venom with the Carnage was gonna be like we eat
It's in
people
the
and people get
title.
cut in half.
Let
I don't know.
there be carnage. In
It
the
it should be like this. Like I don't know. I haven't seen Let There Be Carnage, but I really wish they did it kind of like Wolverine, like
like Logan.
like sorry, not like Logan is what I mean. Yeah, like Logan. So I want like I want to see teeth in bodies and then people being ripped in half. Like it's a little gory, but that's Venom and Carnage, so it should be like that. Like
I,
I really enjoyed DC's last home run that I loved was
yeah,
Suicide Squad 2. It was fantastic. I watched it like 100 times already. It's so good.
we are getting off of the MCU topic here, but I
Right.
will say so. My brief thoughts on that. The Suicide Squad is fantastic. Go watch it. 100% recommend. I love that movie. Um, I
Talking about the
have
second one, right?
yeah. Well,
Yeah. The
the
Suicide Squad, right?
the
That's what it's
Suicide
called.
Squad.
Right. I forgot they just put a the and it's not Suicide Squad 2 because they're still the same actors and so
Well,
it's still a sequel,
it's
right?
some of the same actors.
Yeah. It's a
Uh,
sequel though, right? It is does
not
they are joined.
not really. It's set
No.
in the DC extended universe,
All right.
but it's not really.
Yeah. The
Um,
first one I watched once and I was like, it was okay. I was like, I wouldn't watch it again, but it
I
was.
did watch it again. I wish I would have watched there's some sort of like extended cut. So I wish I would have watched that for my second viewing, but I watched the same movie twice, and I don't have interest in watching that movie again. Like I was going through like a DC rewatch, and I stopped at some point because Birds of
Yeah.
Prey was just not available anywhere for me to watch legally. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna pause, and I didn't get back to it. I still haven't watched Birds of Prey. So that's one of the few DC movies I haven't watched.
Just save yourself.
So that's what I've been told. I do wanna watch it in the same way that I watched Suicide Squad, just
Yeah.
to watch it.
Mike told me to watch it, or he told me to watch it, but he
Yeah,
said, "What a useless pile of garbage." And it
he
took
did
me
tell
and
me that
Jess after
too.
after he told us that, it took me and Jess about a year later, and we watched it for free, and it was garbage. The only thing that we took away from it is for the Suicide Squad is that I can't even tell you because I don't know when you watch Birds of Prey. There's
I
only one takeaway
yeah, I will
between Joker and her, and that's it.
okay. I will defend. I'm not gonna say anything about Birds of Prey because I haven't seen it, but I will defend Suicide Squad like a little bit. It does have some fun moments. I did enjoy parts of the movie. Just overall, though, it's not a movie worth watching. I don't think.
I agree.
But
The Suicide Squad I watched like 8 times in 1 week
oh
though.
yeah, I only seen it once.
Yeah, I loved
I need
it.
to watch it again. It's good. Um, but yeah, my brief thoughts on Venom: Let There Be Carnage. The trailers, like first of all, the first Venom movie, I know that there's like it's so fascinating to me, the responses to this franchise. It's so weird. So people either like it's critically panned. Like critics fucking hate the Venom movie. Everyone
Right.
else either agrees or they love it. and the movie did well, and people are still love it and are still excited about the sequel. And it's so weird. I'm like, this is two different movies for people, and it's so weird. I watched it. I'm in the minority in that I don't go either way. I thought it was an okay movie. My brother absolutely loves the movie. He watches it all the time. I'm like, okay, like that's cool.
Your
You
brother
like the
likes
movie? Yeah, he really likes Venom. I'm like, I thought it was okay. We rewatched it earlier this week actually because we went through our MCU rewatch, and I'm like, hey, the next Spider-Man movie is coming up, and Venom: Let There Be Carnage is coming up. I feel like we should rewatch the Spider-Man movies since we're done the MCU.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so he's like, yeah. I'm like, do you want to watch Venom? He's like, I mean, we watched it very recently because they watch it all the time. He's like, sure, we'll watch it again. I'm like, all right, cool. Because I'm like, we should at least watch that because Venom's coming out, and we want to see the sequel in theaters. So, yeah, I rewatched it. I have the same feelings. I don't think it was a bad movie. I thought it was okay. I thought there were some cool scenes. I thought there were some questionable choices.
I
But all of the trailers I've seen first of all, like the lead up to the trailers for Venom: Let There Be Carnage, I was like, okay, I'm on board. Andy Serkis is directing. That's much better. They changed Carnage's look. I'm like, cool. He doesn't have the weird goofy hair. All right. What's the actor's name again?
Wait, Carnage's look or Woody Harrelson's look?
Woody Harrelson's look.
Okay, because I saw that at the end of the Venom movie. So
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson had he had like a perm
Yeah.
or like a white fro, and
I'm
I
like,
was like,
that's weird. Yeah,
I was
weird
like, I
choice.
don't know much about the guy who is like the host of Carnage, but he doesn't look intimidating at all. I was like, he
No.
looks like like that perm hair he had
Yeah.
looked like a perverted clown you'd have at a kid's birthday
So
party, and I was like,
it's
oh,
very like they're going for the 80s 90s style introduction of
ugh.
Carnage from the comics, and you could tell the director from the original Venom movie wanted that character to be somewhat comic accurate. But
Yeah.
it doesn't pull off the same way in modern day the movie there, right? Live action, modern day live action. So
Right.
and yeah, so I'm like, that's a weird choice. So they changed it for Venom: Let There Be Carnage. I saw screenshots and behind the scenes footage. I'm like, all right, cool. The first trailer came out for Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Oof. I'm like,
Oh,
does
yeah.
not look good. And
No.
again, the internet reaction. I don't know why I'm still on what if. Let me switch over the scenes here. The internet reaction was pretty much the same as the original movie. People were like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited for this," or like, "Oh my god, this looks terrible." I'm like, can we all collectively agree on what this is? 'Cause I'm like,
Yeah.
I watched it. And I'm like, this looks like garbage. Then more trailers came out. And I'm like, this looks even more like garbage. So I was like, I'm not excited for this movie at all. I think Carnage, the CGI, looks great. I'm like,
Yeah.
Carnage looks fantastic. But everything else about the movie, I'm like, this does not look like it's going to be a good movie. I'm not excited for it. But
I
like,
hope it's good. I hope I enjoyed. I hope it's not just like
yeah,
what fans are like. I just wanted to see him on screen and I loved it. I hope it's actually really good. I heard good things, so I'm happy. I agree with you. Venom was enjoyable to watch, but I
yeah,
probably only watched it twice because when I watch it, I just nitpick at things the whole time. I'm like, I enjoyed that. That was really good. And then the next scene, I'm like, why'd they do that? I don't like the way Eddie Brock acts in that movie. People are like, oh, he's what's his
yeah.
name? Tom Hardy
Tom
is such a
Hardy,
good
yeah,
actor, and he
yeah.
is. But in that one, I don't see I don't see a reporter or Eddie Brock in that one. I just see he seems like a twitchy drug addict in in the thing. And I have one other thing I don't like. You know how Venom I don't know, the symbiote comes off of him and then hangs out next to his side of his face and talks to him.
Yeah.
This is what I think of when I see it, and it bothers me.
I
I don't
cannot
know if you
see
can.
that. No.
Can't see that.
Oh, like
Do
the Men
you
in
know
Black.
the
Yeah.
Men in Black where Johnny Knoxville has that weird alien head on his shoulder?
Yeah.
That's all I think about, and the CGI on that is so bad, or whatever, the little puppet, whatever it
Yeah.
is, and I don't like it because I'm just like, it looks like a terrible Johnny Knoxville sitting on your shoulder, and that's all I think about. I love Men in Black. I
Yeah.
love it's like a those are like guilty pleasure movies to me. I can watch them all of the time. They're so good. But when Venom like just hangs out here and was like, "Sup, bro?" I'm like, "Sup, Johnny Knoxville? How's it going?" I don't like that they do that. I'm assuming that's a comic book thing, so that when Eddie Brock and
Yeah.
Venom are talking, you probably see the head here and there's a speech bubble and whatever. I don't like it for movie thing. I don't like they're talking. I wish like it would like come over his face and he would talk and then it would come off and then he would talk. Just do that because I don't like the head hanging off your shoulder. It looks like a weird. I don't. I don't like it.
Yeah, we were watching the movie and you like I don't really have that many issues with the Eddie Brock character as presented in the movie, but we were watching it at some point. I'm just thinking, I'm like, man, this Eddie Brock, even the Topher Grace Eddie Brock. So these two characters are much different from each other, but both of them are different from the Eddie Brock character in the comics. Because I'm just watching, I was texting my brother. I was like, we do remote watching. Sometimes he lives 5 minutes from me, so I just like walk over. But we're busy. I'm like, let's just watch it remotely. I was texting him, and I was like, man, it's so weird that Eddie Brock character in the comics is so drastically different from what's presented in this movies, and it hit me, and I'm like, this is just so weird that this is the direction that they chose to go a different direction for both movies that they've introduced this character in.
Yeah, I don't know the one from the comic books, but I didn't like the who's the guy from that '70s show? His
Um,
name?
Hope for Grace.
Yeah, so his Venom was like I liked it better. At least I liked his Eddie Brock better than the Tom Hardy one because Tom
Really?
Hardy, like, because I was like, Tom Hardy, aren't you supposed to be like a news reporter? And the whole time he was just like, oh, like he was all like very like hunkered down and like I don't know. I was like, why do you look like you're uneasy the whole time? Like even before he had symbiote on him, he looked
Yeah.
like he was just not comfortable in his own skin the whole time. And I'm like, why do you look ill? Like I don't know what it is, but if you watch it again and you just think about it, just like he looks like he's tweaking or he needs drugs or something. That's all I got from that Eddie Brock when I was watching the episode. But the Venom is really good. I like his. I don't know who does the voice acting. Is it Tom Hardy or does somebody else
Yeah,
do the
it's
voice
Tom
acting for
Hardy.
Venom?
Tom Hardy, yeah.
Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy does the
You really
Venom
like you
voice.
like Venom's voice? I feel like a lot of
I
people
like
didn't.
Venom's. I like Venom's voice in it. I think it's. I don't know. I liked it. I've only watched the movie twice though, so I don't really remember. But
Yeah.
from what I remember, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed his little banter. I didn't like that he's like I'm a loser on my planet though. I was
Yeah.
like you're supposed to be a really cool fucking villain. Don't
No,
make me think
here's
that you're like the loser of all the symbiotes though.
here's the
That makes
thing though. He is an outcast and what you would consider a loser from the comics. Like of all the
yeah.
symbiotes, like all the other symbiotes hate him. Like he's kind of like the insane like odd guy. So
So
like
he's not really a villain though, right? He's like an anti-hero,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Venom. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed his like where he kind of mocks him though, because like the new trailer, he's like all stoked to just eat bad guys though, so he's not like
Mhm.
killing civilians. He's like on board with just killing criminals. So I enjoy that, but I'm excited to see Carnage.
Yeah.
I just
Eh,
hope I enjoy it.
I feel like my momentum for the movie is just like at an all-time low. The thing that's weird is like people, so the trailers, people have that mixed reaction still. They love it or they hate it. They and it seems like the early viewing reactions, although I think the movie's out now, so people are getting like legitimate reactions. It's the same thing. People love it or they hate it. There's like no like middle ground for this franchise. And it's just so weird to me. So I don't know. Again, the first movie I thought it was okay. And I'm completely fine. Like, people are theorizing this Venom's gonna somehow make its way into the MCU. People want that to happen or don't want that to happen. I'm okay either way. Like, if based off the first movie, if that were to happen, I'm fine with it. I thought it was an okay character, and I think the first movie presented itself in a way where it made that possible. It's a character in San Francisco. It's completely separate from all the other characters. They had no mention of other characters or events in the MCU movie, and they didn't really say anything that would have conflicted with that universe too.
Yeah.
From the trailers in the second Venom movie, it looks like that might not be the case anymore. There's the Daily Bugle paper, which is different from the Daily Bugle conspiracy theory web series that was presented in the MCU with a different logo and everything. That one piece of detail would conflict with the like all the movies and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know if I want that to happen anymore. But I'm going in with a somewhat of an open mind in the second movie. But from what I've seen, I don't have high hopes. So, that's my brief thoughts.
Yeah. If Venom does enter the MCU, I just want it to be Spider-Man first, and if they tie it in later, sure. But I just want it to be like just Tom Holland, Spider-Man, and Venom, because the Tobey Maguire movies are what they are. The Andrew Garfield ones were my favorite. I think they were
Really?
like Tom Holland. Yeah, I think like I grew up with Tobey Maguire, so I still enjoy those movies, even though looking back they're not the greatest. Um, Andrew
Feel the
Garfield, I
same
think
way.
I liked how they explained what happened to his parents. I like that they explained how he gets his powers from his dad working on this thing at whatever. So the
Mm.
DNA works with his DNA, and that's how he gets his powers. So I like that there's more like explaining with it. I like that they did the Gwen Stacy first, and then if there was a third, they maybe would have introduced MJ. So I enjoy his story. I think Tom Holland's Spider-Man is my favorite though. I just his movies, like the first one, he's very like piggybacking on Tony Stark. The second one, he's piggybacking with Nick Fury,
It's
and
very much a studio decision, though.
yeah,
That's a.
yeah, right. And then the third one, Doctor Strange is in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd really
How it
enjoy
works.
if they do another one. It's just Spider-Man who runs into
That's
Venom, and they just have their in the city, New York City fight. I think that'd be cool.
that's only going to happen if Marvel no longer has anything to like Marvel Studios has no longer has anything to do with the Spider-Man movies, and it's just Sony. The
Yeah,
only reason why um each of the movies, first movie Iron Man's like
right,
half involved in half the movie. Second movie Nick Fury. Third movie Doctor Strange, theoretically, based off the
right,
trailers, most likely. Um,
right.
the reason why is because that's the deal. Sony wants the Marvel. Sony wants the Marvel crossovers to carry the numbers of the movie.
Yeah.
So that's what we got.
Um,
We
Whoever enters it, I hope it's just not a big part though, because I think a
That's
Spider-Man
what you.
versus Venom would
If
be
you
great.
want an MCU Spider-Man, that's what you have to expect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
But otherwise, I'm okay with him not entering it, just because I don't really like Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock, and I don't know, I don't. Eh.
yeah, I would like to see a different Venom for the MCU. I'm completely fine with this iteration of Venom in the MCU for now. But I would like to see a different Venom for the MCU.
Yeah,
Uh,
Venom doesn't even have his iconic like
Spider, yeah,
spider thing because he never had the Peter Parker
yeah.
exchange, which is as much as I like the movies, it would be probably better if they just added the symbiote to Tom Holland first because that would be pretty dark for his character, and then then
Yeah.
he finds Eddie Brock after. That'd be interesting.
I there's other avenues. I feel like I'm never gonna get the MCU Venom that like the Venom that I want for the MCU.
Yeah,
In Eddie Brock, like the whatever iteration of Eddie Brock they have, or another character that's already in the MCU that becomes Venom in the comics. That is just a drastically different take for that character for the Spider-Man movies. So I don't expect that character to become Venom either. The only other character, which again I don't expect them to become Venom, that was introduced in the comics, is Scorpion. That split second and you miss him character from Spider-Man Homecoming, which they never came back to. That was in the end credits with Vulture in the prison. So like he becomes Venom for a little bit. It looks like Marvel's just gonna abandon that character, so that storyline just might not happen either. So yeah, I'm never gonna get the Venom I want for the MCU. So I have to make peace with that, and go into an open mind for Venom Let There Be Carnage, and then see what happens after that.
I think that's why I really like the Andrew Garfield movies, because it was before. I mean, it was kind of like separate from the whole MCU stuff, so we didn't even think Spider-Man was going to be in the MCU. But I really enjoyed his, like at the end of his, he just lost Gwen, so he's going to be in a dark place. I didn't like the mech suit Rhino that they had,
Like
but
Paul Giamatti's Rhino.
no, I don't really like that guy either. So I didn't really. I don't know. That was weird.
I
I
think
think
he campaigned to be in the movie. I think like he sought out to be in the movie. He's like,
yeah, probably
I
because
love this character and I want to be in this movie. I think I read that somewhere. So like
his Russian
that's the
accent
reason.
wasn't even viable. Like on that, like I was like, you just look like I don't know. I what's his name? Paul what?
Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, I don't. His Russian accent was terrible, and he just looked like it was his first acting job ever. I didn't like his Rhino at all. I don't know. I'll just be honest. I didn't like
Yeah.
it. I thought the suit was cool, but I
Really?
don't think yeah. I mean, it was a cool suit, but I don't think it wasn't the Rhino that I
It,
wanted though. It
well,
was like a cool
hey,
mech suit,
did
but
you want comics accurate Rhino? Cause
no, I
I'll
don't.
pull that up.
No, I don't want a half human rhino either, though. I don't know what I wanted, but I don't know if I wanted a mech suit rhino. I don't know what I wanted, but I did like at the end of the Andrew Garfield movies that they showed you like the Sinister Six, so there was
Yeah.
like vulture wings. They had everything lined up, and I was like, oh shit, like there's gonna be some crazy, there was like the tentacles, the Doc Ock tentacles. I thought it
Mm.
was yeah. I'll take the mech suit over that. He looks like he's wearing a onesie.
He's wearing like.
Oh man, it looks like the Hulk's wearing a onesie. Yeah, that's definitely the Hulk wearing a Rhino onesie
Yeah.
for sure. That looks real rough.
We
I'll take
should
the
have
Paul suit.
a separate Spider-Man reflection podcast, but
We should just have a Marvel podcast where we make fun of comic book versus accurate things or whatever.
that'd
But
be fun.
yeah,
Let's stick
let's
with
roll with
let's go back to the MCU. We'll stick with what's going on here. We gone through all the episodes of What If except for the finale. What I want to end on, let's talk about this lawsuit with Marvel and Scarlett Johansson, because we never the introduction of this podcast started when What If started, and we wanted to have these conversations. But now that the show's ending, we can start like talking about like what's going on around the world of Marvel and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this is sort of the big thing. This is the big discussion that is all over the news right now. Um, and it's a result of the pandemic. And Black Widow had its movie delayed so many times, so many disappointed birthdays for me. But they finally said, you know what, screw it. We're gonna release it in theaters, and we realize not everybody can make it to the theaters, so let's also release it on Disney Plus. I thought, cool, that's great. I'm all for the change in this transition of going day and date theater and digital, especially now during the time where we're living in these very depressing and weird times, you know.
it. Right.
Apparently that was not the agreement for for everyone. And so, just to recap, after Black Widow premiered, um, Scarlett Johansson launched a lawsuit against Disney, saying, basically, the what she earns from the movies was uh like a big part of it was based off the box office sales, and that it was going to be a theater exclusive release, and had no sort of um there was no sort of discussion about what was going to happen because the pandemic happened. Things have changed. Marvel's plans to have a digital release and how that was going to affect her earnings based on her contract. So because she was not getting the money that she was promised, because not everybody was going to the theaters, they were watching it at home on Disney Plus, where I'm sure she had some sort of compensation for like Disney Plus, like the views on Disney Plus, but I imagine it's not anywhere near what would have happened in theaters. But Disney sort of came back with a defense saying, like, it's outrageous that we're trying to do this for everyone who can't go out to the theaters. Like, they try to make themselves look like the good guy. And you can say your piece on whether you think that they are the good guy in this situation, but they're saying, like, we're doing the good thing, releasing it to everybody, so that because during the pandemic we want to make sure that everybody has this sort of entertainment, right? I've read some interesting takes on Twitter both ways. So I thought it was interesting, the different reactions I was seeing. What were your thoughts on all this when it started, when it happened?
Let's see. So, like, you sign a contract and you think you're going to make all this money from the box office, and then they decide to go Disney Plus with it, so that's going to be a whole bunch of box office money that she's not going to get. Now, I'm sure they were going to compensate her with some Disney Plus stuff, but it's not going to be as much as the box office. Now, I can see that Disney Plus, once she files this lawsuit, it's her first Marvel movie where the female is like the main lead, I guess, other than Captain Marvel, but like there hasn't been many others or whatever. But like I could
First
see,
solo movie for this character, which has
right,
been
for the character who's brought this character to life for Disney for like what 12 years, more than that.
yeah.
So you should, I don't know, she definitely deserves. I think actors are they already make an insane amount of money, but Disney prints money, and you're not going to pay her out something that you wrote in a contract, and then you try to, she files a lawsuit, which is, her right when you don't follow a contract, and then Disney wants to play the COVID card, or they're like, well, we were trying to make it safe for everybody, and we don't think Scarlett Johansson's really, we don't think that's really nice of her to do that, or whatever. I'm like, I'm sorry, but you signed a contract, so if you want to release it, whatever, you own. How much money does Disney have? They buy every company there is, so I'm sure they can afford to take a loss on this one and give Scarlett Johansson the money that she deserves. She's entitled to that money. There's a contract for it.
It's not
She
like they
deserves.
were like, well, but it depends how you view it, right? It's not like they're like, we're withholding money from like these sales that are still happening. They released it differently during a pandemic where the seats aren't going to be filled as much as they hope to begin with, and then they also have a digital release. So her earnings are based off the box office sales. That's drastically dropped because of this. Also, piracy is involved too because it's a digital release.
Yeah.
So
But they released it the same time. If after it dropped off, because it was the number one for the first weekend, it didn't even make number one the second weekend. But because they released it in they released it like on Disney Plus. So the people who went to see it in theaters are probably like the absolute diehards. Maybe they're already double vaxxed or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
or they don't care about COVID, and that's a whole other issue. And um then there maybe they don't have Disney Plus, so they went and saw it. They don't, it's adults who don't have Disney Plus. They bring their kids to go see it, and they made a bunch of money. But you release it the first weekend on Disney Plus as well, which already takes a bunch of, how many viewers in theaters versus how many viewers in Disney Plus. You kind of robbed her of all that money on Disney Plus that could have been box office sales. So
Mm-hmm.
unless we're like Disney Plus should have been, I think Disney should have been like, okay, look, your movie hasn't been number one for 2 weekends in a row now. How about we move it to Disney Plus and we give you some sales on that? And then she can agree to, with her thing that by releasing it the first weekend though on Disney Plus, people are already just going to watch it online and then not give her the box office sales. So I don't know. I think Disney's fault. I still at the end. I know I can argue. You're right. You can argue both sides in different ways, but I
Mm-hmm.
still think at the end of the day, it's a contract, and if you didn't clear it with Scarlett Johansson, you owe her that money, and Disney has to then take that loss.
So I haven't even really gotten my take yet, but I want to point out just I thought this was this. I wish the tweet wasn't deleted. So I'm not gonna call the person out who deleted this. There's somebody I follow that is is a YouTuber still. And I like I'm a fan. I like the content and everything. It was so interesting seeing their take on uh this because it was not what I was expecting. And this is like a comics YouTuber and stuff too. Um they sided with Disney originally,
Mm-hmm.
and they're like they were I felt like Disney was doing a narrative where they were using COVID. So this is a little bit of my thoughts. They were using COVID as an excuse and a shield to give them an excuse to back out of a contract, like to navigate their way around a contract.
Right.
And it it seemed like this person bought into the narrative and said, "Oh my God, I can't believe how selfish Scarlett Johansson is being when we're in a pandemic and people can't go to the theaters to watch this movie."
Right.
First of all, like I said, I was all for um I was all for a digital and theater release. I don't care. You know what? I'm fine with watching the movie at home. Um
Too.
I yeah,
I'm fine.
I do like the theater experience. I don't want to go to the theater during a pandemic, and I'm fine with the digital release because a lot of the people I go see movies with prefer at home, like prefer watching these movies at home. So I'm cool hanging out with those people at home, and watching it as a digital release. Um, and I feel like we're eventually gonna be gravitating towards that experience, and the pandemic has just exacerbated it and progressed it further. So I already saw that that's the way the trend for movie going experience is going. So I'm embracing it. Let's do this, right? I would not have been on board if I knew that this was the situation. Because they made that they made that tweet, and I had to respond. I'm like, they're like, I can't believe people are siding with Scarlett Johansson on this. And I said, I don't know. I tend to not be on the side of the giant corporation, right?
Right.
that's screwing over a personal a person out of their contract for the work that they did.
Yeah.
Because
And that's why I agree. They print money. They can
Yeah.
afford to take the loss. And this character has brought Black Widow to life for you for like 12 years. It's an employee during a pandemic. Take care of your employee.
Yeah.
Like, why? It's a contract. You can't back out of a contract. There's nothing in the clause that says,
Yeah.
in case of pandemic, we have the right to back out. They should have at least talked to her about it first.
Exactly, because you know what you can do with contract? You can renegotiate. And
Yeah.
that's what, and according to Scarlett Johansson, that's what she tried to do. She said, hey,
Right.
I realize we keep pushing the date on Black Widow, and I realize there's a pandemic, and I realize you have some plans to do a digital release like you've been doing with other movies, like animated movies and all that stuff. Let's try to renegotiate because a big part of my contract is based off the box office sales." To which she says Disney had ignored her until the time when they actually did it, and there was still no talks about it. Then she filed the lawsuit, which she was right to do, in my opinion, because they should have prior. Listen, they delayed it for over a year. It had a May release date twice, and 2 different years, and then finally premiered the summer after that. So you had all this time to say, "Hey, let's talk about this and let's figure out a proper outcome." And they just let it balloon up and explode until this happened. And now they have all this negative press. They have all this bad blood, and now they have to figure out last minute. By the way, this has nothing to do with Marvel Studios. This is a Disney decision, right?
Yeah.
So now Shang-Chi is only a theater release. They have to wait. There's a 45-day exclusivity thing until they have to wait for a Disney Plus release. So that's coming up soon, I think. So it will be on Disney Plus soon.
Same with probably the Eternals and all that. So you're now robbing your Disney Plus, because if you just did it right, like what assuming you're probably gonna say is like once the box office, like wait till the box office and it starts dropping off in the box office, then you can ask the employees or the actors and be like, do you guys want some of the
or renegotiate how you handle that and deal with that in a pandemic world, and what the compensation is going to be for the actors, and then have them sign a new contract based on that, where they're comfortable with the earnings that they're getting and everything, because you can have that simultaneous release and everybody be happy based on what you're agreeing to beforehand. And they could have planned ahead and still had Shang-Chi in theaters and Disney Plus, and they could have still done the same with Eternals. And I imagine they're trying to scramble for the upcoming movies for the MCU to be both, but they're trying to handle it safely now and quietly, so that they don't have another Black Widow situation on their hands. But they had all this time to figure that out, and now they're playing catch up.
Yeah, because all you had to do was negotiate it with Scarlett Johansson, figure it out, find some wiggle room for the contract, let it go 3 weeks in theaters, then release it to Disney Plus and make some more money that way, give her some proceeds, whatever. And then there wouldn't be an argument for Shang-Chi, and you could negotiate the same thing with him, because some people know that actor. Yeah, some people know the main actor from I guess a TV series, Kim's Convenience, I believe.
Yeah.
But I don't really know him, and I don't think there's a lot of A-list actors in that movie. Maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen it yet. I want to go see it soon, but
the villain is a big actor. I can't remember the actor's name. I know he's a big actor.
Okay, so is he the guy that's in Mortal Kombat?
I haven't seen Mortal Kombat. I don't know.
Okay, I'm not sure. Okay, so but you can negotiate it even less. I mean, that sucks, but you can negotiate it even less with people who are Shang-Chi. There's a lot of unknown characters or something.
He would have been so it seems like he's gets along and has a lot of guidance from other actors from the MCU who would have told him, "Hey, listen, this is what you're worth." So he would have known, like that. I don't think that's the thing. Like, try to screw over new talent. I'd say just figure out, because contracts are made with a pre-pandemic mindset. Now you're living in a pandemic, current pandemic world, and there will be a post-pandemic world where you have to foresee situations like this, because things are just not going to be the same. It's just the reality of it, because something else can happen, and they're going to have to adjust to deal with whatever changes happen that derail the current plans. right? So you have
Right.
to say, hey, this is what the contract's going to be, and the actors can say, this is like, I want to have this sort of change or this amount or based off of this, right? And it sounds like the Disney CEO is saying, yeah, we're thinking about new contracts because of that. That's fantastic. Why didn't you think about that a year or so ago?
Because
Why?
like I didn't mean to say it's like screw over new talent. I just meant
Mm.
like they would have been paid. They're probably most likely being paid less
Yeah,
percentage wise
they're
for
not being
box
paid
office.
Robert Downey Jr. money.
Right, exactly.
Right.
Or Scarlett Johansson money,
Yeah.
or I'm assuming in the Eternals, what's her name? Uh,
Angelina Jolie.
and Jean, yeah, she's probably gonna make a ton for that movie as well.
Yeah.
Same with the guy who played in Game of
Game of
Thrones. I can't
Thrones,
remember.
yeah.
Uh,
Kit
I can't remember
Harington.
his name either. Yeah, Kit Harington. So they're probably paying them a lot. There's some other actors too as well, but I'm just saying like they should have with Scarlett Johansson tried it first,
Oh, sorry.
seen how it what worked, and then with Shang-Chi, they'd be like, this is how it worked with Scarlett Johansson. This is how we're gonna do it with you because it worked
Well,
well. And if it
those
didn't work
contracts
well,
are made a long time ago, right?
right. But that's why I'm saying they had so much time to adjust Scarlett Johansson's, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
So now we're just stuck. There's gonna be theater releases and no Disney Plus until way later when they could have made as much money as
Mm-hmm.
possible in the box office. And then as soon as they're like, okay, it's drying up, no one's coming to the theater to see this, let's put it on Disney Plus. And now they're not going to do that because they're going to wait till, it's got to stay in theaters for a
Yeah.
certain amount of time. So
Well,
now
I
we're
think eventually that's going to change, and we'll have a co-release. But for the time
sure,
being, we're not going to see Marvel movies on Disney Plus same day as theaters for quite some time because of this lawsuit.
which is exactly which if Scarlett Johansson was trying to figure it out, either way, if she was trying to and they weren't, that's that's definitely on them.
Mm-hmm.
But you also just can't negate a contract without
Yeah.
talking about anybody and then just change it. So yeah, you're right. Like it's a big. You can't the corporations always screw over littler people, and Scarlett Johansson has only been repping you guys for how many years, and you guys print money. Just take the
Yeah.
loss on the contract. If you don't want to negotiate it with her, just pay her the extra that it wouldn't have made in theaters anyways, since it dropped off so early and because of Disney Plus, and then just pay her that, and then be like, so look, we're gonna put this on Disney Plus anyways, but here's the money the percentage from the box office or
Yeah.
whatever that we owed you.
Yeah, exactly. Like either way, I think Disney comes out the wrong.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
they're in the wrong in either way you look at it. Um,
mhm.
I don't think Scarlett Johansson is the little guy. So my take on this is that I don't care what happens to all of these rich people. So at the end of the day, I don't care about how much money they're making or losing. Really don't
Something
care.
tells me she'll still be just fine. She'll
Yeah,
be all right.
they're gonna be okay. Okay. But when I'm looking at this, it's clear to me she is in the right and she got screwed over
Yeah,
by the corporation Disney. So
yeah,
yeah, I'm obviously on her side in all this because I think
right.
she's in the right. But ultimately, I really don't care about what money she lost. She could
Yeah,
lose all
no.
the money in the world. I really don't
Like
care.
there's people who lost their jobs and their homes in the last year and a half not working due to COVID. I think
Yeah.
you can coast off your Black Widow money for the next little bit, and Disney I think can coast off of the money that they've made in their 100 years of working or however many years they've been in
Yeah.
business because they literally make and buy everything. So I think everyone they'll be both fine, but you still got to follow a contract at the end of the day.
I will say the downside for us fans, like what we're getting out of this, other than like not being able to see a digital release for these movies, is that there's a rumor. I don't know how. I feel like we're gonna like in downtimes we're probably gonna talk about like a lot of rumors in the news for the MCU because that's been my life for like over a year. Like with a drought of Marvel content, what's the rumor that's happening?
Yeah.
But the rumor is because the Russo brothers have been interviewed saying like, what's your next thing for Marvel? And they're saying, well, we'll probably come back for something big like Secret Wars, which is another big comics crossover event. So when you're looking at the MCU as a fan of the comics, a lot of stuff is happening where you're looking at it and saying it's obvious they're trying to lead into Secret Wars. It's obvious to me that's where they're going with this. So I'm like, they're clearly going to want to reach out to the Russo brothers to do a Secret Wars movie. And it seemed like that was the case. That they were in talks with the Russo brothers to do that. The rumor is now that they're reconsidering working with Marvel because of the Black Widow lawsuit, saying like they don't know if they can be guaranteed from working on the movie if it's going to have the theater release or what's going to happen. Like they think that Disney might just back out of a deal or anything. Now maybe if that rumor was true, maybe that was the catalyst of Disney settling in court. Was them not being able to get the Russo brothers, like having Marvel Studios work with the Russo brothers for a Secret Wars movie because they want the same sort of success as Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
I don't know. So maybe that changed things, and maybe the Russo brothers are back on board with an a Secret Wars movie. This is all just speculation though. So that's just I saw that rumor online, like a news outlet posting on it. So I thought that was interesting. I'm like, oh shit, this lawsuit might cost us the Russo brothers for another movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, that's our thoughts on the lawsuit. Let us know what you think. If you think Disney was in the right, let us know in the comments down below. Let us know what your thoughts are on What If and our theories and our different timeline theories on where these stories go. And hopefully we'll have all three of us on the next podcast talking about the finale of What If. Do you have any closing thoughts before we end the show?
Not really closing thoughts, just more upcoming stuff. I think we'd like to. I'm gonna try and get to the theater and see Shang-Chi so that we can talk about that. And then we got Eternals in November and Spider-Man in December.
We also have
Probably.
Hawkeye in December.
Oh, Hawkeye in December too. That's true. And I watched the trailer and it looked really sweet. So I like that the I don't really want to talk too much about it, but I guess the trailer looks like it's everyone coming after him after the stuff he did during Endgame.
As
Those
Roman.
5 years of just
Yeah.
as Roman just slaughtering gangs and tribes and whatever else in different countries. So that'll be interesting. Um, uh, we have Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend, so I'm assuming possibly, hopefully, sometime next week we can talk about the finale of What If. Um, what else was I
In
wanted
our
to talk about?
timeline of recording stuff, who knows when these episodes go out?
Sure, right,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's true. So, and then if we go to the theater and see Venom at the Carnage, maybe we can talk about maybe we can do a DC, do a little just like a little.
A Sony, not DC.
Sorry, why do I keep saying that? I don't
I
know
know,
why.
I know. They
Yeah, well,
equally suck. Okay, we get it.
yeah. I don't know why I keep thinking Venom's DC.
I'm
I know.
exaggerating. You can
I hope.
don't hate me
I
in the
think
comments.
because I see him as a darker character that I
Yeah.
think he's that. But I know he's Marvel because I always every time a Marvel game comes out, I'm always like I hope I can play as Venom because that'd be really cool. Yeah. So maybe we could just do another, maybe not MCU, but we'll just do a Marvel hit pause or something.
Yeah, well, we'll spawn off and create several different variant
Oh,
podcasts.
another thing I thought that we should do. This is just my quick thought to you. Because we're a
Pitch me.
gaming podcast,
Yeah.
would you have you watched Squid Game yet?
No.
I think you should watch Squid Game, and then we can talk about Squid Game. It's a 9 episode series. It's a Korean series. It was really good,
Hit
and
pause.
we could
Squid
talk.
Game.
We'll just do it as our Spawn Trap gaming podcast because it's.
It's a
I
gaming
mean,
show. Like it's.
it's a game where it's like a Hunger Games series.
We could talk about it on the like if it's gaming related. We can talk about it on the Spawn Trap podcast.
Like video game related, but it is called Squid Game, and it's a bunch of people who play childhood games for money, and if they lose, they get executed. So it is a really good series, though.
Okay.
Just nine episodes. It might be a sequel, but they don't have any plans for it yet.
Everybody is talking about that show. It's so
all
funny to me. I'm like, I have no like concept or reference or anything of what anybody's talking about. I just see like screenshots and so many references online. I'm like, this is just hilarious to me.
Yeah, you just see like the helmets with the triangles, circles, and stuff. Yeah, so I came across that on Netflix. I just saw it before it was like number one or whatever. As soon as it released on Netflix, I saw it and I was like watching it and I was like, wow, that actually looks really good. Like I'd watch that. But it was a Korean film, so it's dubbed over with English. So the lips don't really match what they're saying. And
yeah,
I
that's
was
how
like,
dubs work. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, I have a hard time watching those. It is so hard.
So
to
you
get through
prefer
those.
subs or subtitles?
No, I'd rather listen to it in English. But I'd rather just watch an English movie. But
Yeah.
I don't want to read. I just want to just mindless entertainment. I don't need to read and then also try to understand Korean at the same time. It was I was like, you know what? I could probably give this a go. It's just a movie. I was like, we'll watch it. Also, it'll be fine. And then as I was clicking it, I was like, episode 1. This is a series. And I was like, no, I can't watch the lips not match the voice for 9 episodes. And then I disregarded it. And then like 2 or 3 days later, I come back on and it was like number 1 on Netflix, Squid Game. And I was sitting there and I was like, do I invest in this? Do I watch this? And I'm usually on Disney Plus or Amazon Prime. So the fact that I was just on it again and was like about to click it, and then my phone went off, and my buddy wrote, just finished Squid Game. It was amazing. Watch it. And I was hovering over it in my controller, and I was like, guess we're doing this because somebody's watching me. So then I started watching Squid Game, and I got over the voices because actually the voices match so quickly with the mouse that I didn't even notice it after a while. There is a few characters there's this really annoying girl in it. You'll know as soon as you hear her voice.
Okay.
The actress's voice matches the enthusiasm of the actor, but it doesn't. It looks like a gross, just a gross, annoying person with just like a different girl's voice. It doesn't really match. Anyways, I watched 6 episodes as soon as I clicked it, and I was like, I got 3 left. I was like, this is fantastic. So I liked it. It was enjoyable, and there's like a twist at the end. So I recommend it. And then maybe if we can get Matt on board to watch it, or Courtney. I feel like I saw Courtney share something with it, so I think
You
Courtney
might be watching it. I don't know.
I think she's watching it, or she was she at least gave it a shot or something. So either the 3 of us or the 4 of us could talk about it. But I would recommend watching it. It's 9 episodes. You could probably get through it. So I'd like to do it sooner because it's very popular right now. So if we could just do a Spawn Trap and then do a Squid Game podcast. It's got the game in the title, so I was like,
so therefore, it is gaming related.
It is a game, not video game, but it's a game. So.
Well, let us know if you want to see in the comments us talk about Squid Game and how much Jordan hates women. So, but the most importantly, give us your thoughts on what you thought of the show so far and our takes on everything. And there's going to be other stuff coming up for the MCU. But there's also stuff that we missed. So if you want us to go through talking about WandaVision, Loki, Falcon Winter Soldier, our theories on those shows, because, my God, there's a lot to go over. I would like to rewatch those. Given an excuse to rewatch those shows and talk about those, absolutely let us know in the comments. But that is going to be it for us for the podcast. Thanks, Jordan, for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not also. I have empty threats. Brie Larson could probably kick my ass.
So yeah. hopefully, we didn't lose you. You're gonna stick around for the other episodes. But yeah, we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.